right, everybody, welcome on into the Central Committee stream with your host Mike from PA. We are live once again. How is everybody doing this morning? It is January 27th, 2026, and my goodness gracious, guys, we are just winning. We are winning. We are winning. Layered and shoveling. Oh God, yeah. You know, as the oldest son and only son in my family's, do you know how many times I had to shovel alone? See, that's the type of family that I grew up in. That's the type of family that I grew up in. I'd be lucky if my dad helped. It was a good day if my dad helped me. But see, my dad had a job where he was frequently out of town for like a week at a time. So I had to shovel that shit alone. Are you a D4 player or an E4 player? And what's your favorite opening as black? If I'm being honest, chat, I'm fighting my urge for the Fianchetto. You know, I have to fight my urge to Fianchetto. And to answer that question, that would mean that. But I do like just going straight hard for the center, you know? So aren't openings always on the white side? No. To answer your question, the answer is no. They really describe typical first moves for white and certain responses by black, which are not openings. They're actually called defenses, but it's okay. It's fine. Open presents. Thank you for the gift hundo to start the stream. You are the best. I appreciate you. Sicilian is the most imbalanced and therefore offers the best chances for victory for black. I mean, the Sicilian is a great defense because it has the best name. My favorite thing about chess is that the white side goes first. The white side is attacking, which is exactly accurate in history. In history, white people attack. The other thing to learn from chess is that attacking gives you the advantage. There is a advantage of the initiative. I like the Vienna system. Honestly, the Vienna system is pretty good. Not gonna lie. I like the Scotch game as well. Why do you think white people have always attacked throughout history? Because the answer to that is because it's cold up there. It's fucking cold up there. And if you don't plan ahead and you misjudge your savings, or the winter goes longer than you thought, there's a lot of situations where you have a lot of people and not much to do to get food beyond go and steal someone else's shit. And so I think because it's so cold up there, white people, societies that were willing to steal, willing to be the aggressor, were ones that might survive that especially cold winter at the expense of those who never attacked. I think that's my materialist analysis of why white people bad. Romeo passed away. Oh yeah, Romeo passed away. Yeah, it's true. He's our buddy. Did Asmongold cave before Hassan? Oh yeah. Okay, so what are we talking about today, Chad? The New York Times put out a frame-by-frame assessment of the shooting of Alex Pretti, and as you expect, it's a horrifying show of pure evil, and there's no possible way to defend it. And ICE is completely out of control. Didn't they mostly fish even way north? Have you been in the North Sea in the winter? You're going to die. Mike, any chance you could add this song to your playlist? Oh, okay. Here's the thing. Okay, the thumbnail was horrible, but this seems good. We might have to add that. This is exactly my type of shit. Anyway, so what else are we talking about today? Oh, okay. So Asmongold is pretty much caving. He's getting attention from normies, and it's everything I said would happen is fucking happening, and it's amazing, and I love it. Asmongold getting attention from normies is incredible. Hello from China. Heard here there are some come from Billy that are also watching Mike. Welcome in, a little potato chip. Yeah, I know. I have to contact people. The thing is, I'm doing another project, chat. I'm working really hard on this new project. And when I release it, it's going to be nonstop. So we're nearing that point. We're nearing that point. February is when we're going to be releasing. Am I ready to drop the Tectone lore? Yes, I am, but I also have to consider the safety of the person involved. Like, that's the thing. I'm not like most other streamers. I actually care about people. And one of the things that's starting to become recognized in the streamer space is that if somebody's in trouble, they come to me, which is actually really awesome. I'm starting to really love that, because like I don't consider myself to be, you know, like that well known in the streamer space, but actually people do know who I am. And whenever they actually get attacked by these incel mobs, they come to me. And so that's pretty sweet. That being said, I always value protecting the victims over my content, because it's not even really content. It's about making this space better. I was doing Los Polos research and found a video of him with the Rizzler and Costco guys. They're all fucking clones of each other. Okay, Hassan said something yesterday. I was watching a stream, and he said that, what's Los Polos gonna do? He's not a donut. I think one of the things, and I mean this wholeheartedly, Hassan is too nice. Hassan is too nice. And I wish that he would just fight one of them. Just one time. I want him to physically fight one of them just one time. Preferably Destiny, but it really could be anyone. Just physically get mad and physically fight one of them one time, like, and have it be a mutual combat. I don't want them to beat them up. I mean, like a boxing match or something, or a UFC match, like where it's consensual, where, you know, I don't want them to kill someone or do a crime or anything. I just mean, like, I think Hassan, like, going into the octagon with any of these conservative guys, you know, that yap a lot, just one time, that would be so good for the world. It would be so good. Because the thing is, because Hassan is so nice, people forget that he's an absolute monster and that he would absolutely kill any of these people. And as somebody who's hung out with Hassan a number of times in person, and, you know, he is absolutely massive. He could be like an NFL linebacker. Like, he's fucking huge. Like, this is your equivalent of my dad could beat up your dad. Sure, whatever, man. That's not really what I'm saying. What I'm saying is these guys yap a lot, but it's very funny to imagine them fighting Hassan, and I want him to do it at least once.
You're gonna come up right here. Yes. I want you to come right here. You're gonna weigh heavy on us. You're gonna go. Oh.
Let me try. I've never done this before.
This is gonna be good. Yeah.
To be frank, you are short, Mike. I'm not short. I am a slightly below average king. I guess that makes me slightly short, huh? Listen, is 5'9" short? Is 5'9" short, guys? Come on, don't tell me I'm short. Damn. People that are from the West Coast say no because they're shorter out here. But if you're from the East Coast, it's short. So when I was growing up, I was short, but LA is a little bit short. They're shorter out here. I noticed that. I didn't really recognize you when I saw you in person. Are you saying that I was uglier, or I was bigger in your mind? Which is okay. Either one is fine. It's the literal average. I don't think the average height for men is 5'9". I think it's like 5'10 and a half. What is the average height for men in the United States? Wait, what? Did we get shorter? No fucking way. The fuck? I could have swore it was 5'10". Oh my god, it's actually, we are getting shorter. What the? Interesting. We are getting shorter. How about that? Interesting that America used to be like the tallest country, and then now it's getting short. You know what countries are getting taller? Asian countries, which is very interesting. I'm pretty sure I read a study showing that short people live longer, and they do. Yes, that is true. I mean, my grandfather did live till 88, and my dad is in his 70s, and he's fucking, he's honestly, if you met him, you'd think he's in his 50s. It's true. Yeah, Casey Tron met my dad. Casey Tron met my dad. My dad is like one of the more interesting people that I know, in that I could tell where a lot of my personality comes from my dad, and that is a good and very bad thing. I really am a combination of both my parents in a very literal, straightforward way, and it's very funny to think about. Like, I have all the vices of both of my parents. Is your family leftist? Yes. Although my dad is the most right-wing person of the group, which is like, you know, obviously. All my sisters are all commies now. You should read what they say in the group chat. You think I'm bad? Was your dad a union guy? Yeah. Oh, no, my dad is a trade unionist through and through. He's a militant trade unionist. He got, I'll tell this story because he doesn't work there anymore. But so he got hired at this company, right? And he was moving into like a supervisory instructor role, and he was put in charge of like helping with hiring. And so every time he looked at somebody's resume, he would go and check scab lists. He would go and check all the major scab lists. And if he found them on their name, he'd throw away their application. So he gets a W for that. Oh, he also sent an email to somebody about how somebody was a piece of shit scab. And he like replied all the company or something. It was not good. He did something like that. He's a boomer. I mean, so it happens. That just means they're an opportunist. I don't think you know trade unionists. If you know actual trade unionists, like when somebody's a scab, they want to kill them. Like if you know real trade unionists, like actual trade unionists, they want to commit crimes against scabs. They want to kill them. They want to burn their houses down. They want to beat the shit out of them. Like it is a bit unhinged. How do I radicalize my family members? Well, the first thing is if you're asking really about how do you change people's minds, like it's a question that we all fight. We always wrestle with that together, right? There's no easy one-sided answer, but to explain one thing about why people believe what they believe, it's identity. It's their social identity, their social context. And if you want somebody to change their mind, it can't be a full rejection of themselves and everything they value. A worldview is really how you feel about yourself and how you relate to the rest of the world. So to change that, it has to come from an internal place. And it can't be an act of humiliation. I mean, for most people can't do that. They don't have, and honestly, expect them to is full-hearted. All right. Oh yeah, Hassan was talking shit against me yesterday, I heard. This son of a bitch.
My favorite Destiny Michael from Pennsylvania clips that truly exposes how fucking dumb he is, but how confidently incorrect he is. This is one of the few instances where Michael from Pennsylvania and Destiny duked it out in the marketplace of ideas. But anyway, we got to get back to the fucking...
Oh, he was going to watch it. He was going to watch it, but that's okay. This isn't him talking shit. What the fuck? I mean, Destiny and I did battle in the marketplace of ideas. I think most of the debates are on my YouTube channel. If you actually want to, if you care, you can go see how he's a complete fucking moron. I stand by pretty much everything I said in those debates. If anything, I'm more radicalized, maybe slightly more radicalized, because I think back then I was a little bit more optimistic about, I think the one thing I got wrong about 2020 is I thought people were ready for Bernie Sanders because they liked Bernie Sanders. And that was not correct. People didn't go with Donald Trump because they like Donald Trump. They went with Donald Trump because they were pissed the fuck off and he was attacking their enemies. So I think that's the lesson for 2028. The lesson for 2028 is the left can't just be something that people like. You have to actually feed people red meat of going after the fucking Republicans viciously. You have to be seen as the most vicious anti-Republican because that's what Democratic primary voters want right now. I don't think they were ready for that back then. In 2020, they were still doing the kumbaya bullshit.
From Pennsylvania, not from Beijing, by the way, just so you know, even though he tries to fucking lie.
I stopped the clip too soon. I stopped the clip too soon.
But anyway, we got to get back to the fucking Michael from Pennsylvania, not from Beijing, by the way, just so you know, even though he tries to fucking LARP and claim like he's actually from Beijing. He is from Pennsylvania, not from Beijing. Maybe Michael from Taiwan? I don't know, maybe at most.
I mean, Chad, he's just coping. He's just coping because I called him Hassan from Hong Kong. I called him Hassan from Hong Kong because he decided to go to the capitalist remnant instead of 24th century China cyberpunk. And he's been hurt because it just hits. Hassan from Hong Kong hits, and he knows it hits. Hong Kong Hasi. Yeah, exactly. Now he's calling me Mike from Taiwan. It doesn't even like have a, doesn't even sound good. The new Billy dub of you talking about right-wingers hijacking communal sentiment goes hard. Oh, really? Here, link me. Both, however, could stand to do more uncritical, enthusiastic coverage of the PRC. Okay, first of all, that is just... See, that's just your white Westerner. That's your white Westerner cope. See, you're not used to people treating China with the same level of respect. About 50 million weebs talk about Japan. I am way more critical than your average weeb when they talk about Japan. Okay, and Japan sucks shit, fucking blows. How do I know? I live there. Fuck Japan. Okay, so okay, I'm not kidding. I actually like Japan, but I do like Japan. I do like Japan. I actually do like Japan. In all seriousness, as a society, it's not good. Hassan admits you're the #1 China glazer.
There's 2 ways to go play this game, Phil.
We also giving him shit for being a China dick rider like a year ago. What do you mean? I was riding the Chinese dick too. He's just riding a little bit harder than me, maybe going a little above board on the dick riding. I will recognize that he dick rides China more than I do. Okay.
We were nice.
Called him a pimp.
Okay. First of all, let me just say this. Let me just say this about the China dick riding. It's not that I am highly critical of everything. That's because that's what you're supposed to be. But the one thing that I understand about the world that I think a lot of leftists don't is the nature of the material forces of history. And if we're going to be left wing, if we're going to talk about the future, we can't ignore that the most powerful country of the world calls themselves socialist. If you're going to be a socialist, you have to have an assessment of that country. Like, you have to have an opinion on that country. If you're going to call yourself a socialist, and there's a country over here who's extremely powerful that calls itself socialist, you need to have an opinion about it, and you need to be able to talk about it intelligently. And my opinion is that they're doing a hell of a job. Now, I have a lot of disagreement. I think China is, to me, the China for me, you know, they have a little bit more of a, you know, Asian style familial orientation. That's a little bit different than the way we Western white people are. You know, Western white people be like, all right, you're 18, leave. And then go, well, I raised my kid. I washed my hands. I made them to 18. They're on their own. Like, that's fucking weird, man. Do you know why Hassan has never talked about Ms. Kiff abuse allegations and seems to speak about him positively or neutrally, not trying to drama bait, just interested to know your take? That's definitely not true. And I'll have you know that I have always been a Ms. Kiff non-enjoyer. That's really the facts. Everybody, in fact, early on, I was one of those people that were against rehabilitating Ms. Kiff because what I heard pissed me off so fucking much. Now, it turns out that the victim decided to ally themselves with like Trainwrecks and XQC and Destiny for trying to like slander Pokimane and Hassan for some reason, and that was fucking weird. But that doesn't change the fact that they were a victim. And Ms. Kiff acted in a way protects abusers, and it really pissed me off, to be quite honest. I mean, this is how women are bullied into silence. Is you have people go to them and say, you know, yeah, you were a victim, but it could have been a lot worse. But if you bring it out, that's all anybody will ever think about you, is that you're a victim of sexual assault. And so a lot of incels are going to come out of the woodwork to harass you. Like, that's trying to silence people by pretending to be their friend. And that really grossed me out. What do you have to say about the Black Panthers for Self-Defense Party? Are you talking about the actual Black Panthers or the weird kind of LARPy group that's in Philly now? All Hassan said was Miz said a court reporter at Detectoad's court hearing. I mean, you could hate Miskiff. As far as I know, I mean, I'm not really up on the Miskiff allegations, to be honest with you. So I can't really comment more on them, but I'm not a Miskiff enjoyer. Let's just put it that way. Tree monologue goes hard in Mandarin. All right, hold on. That's all I'll say about that.
我火了一把，一个曾经比我们惨得多的国家，但他们干了。要是我学了中文，那可能就是我。
Yo, let's go. We got the 1,329 likes. Let's go. I wish I could see the comment section, but I have to get a Billy account in order for me to log in. About 4 minutes in, you give a good talk on communal sentiment. Oh, okay. You know who's not going viral in China? Hasanabi. Exactly.
This brother was a nurse.
Motherfucker. I just want to hear more of the dub. LOL.
老兄，
如果你还没看过在中国火起来的那个视频，你搞什么呢？
中国人觉得这个视频不错，你觉得自己比中国人强吗？油管老板麦克火气十足。
我不懂那啥意思，不过还行吧。我在中
Billy. You can't let Hassan use you not having a Billy against you. I'm sure I could get in there. I have to people have been reaching out to me for Billy. I have to look into it. I'm just like, I don't like to commit myself to doing more things before I know I'm actually going to do it. Which is one of the, like, I don't like to commit myself to things if I feel like I don't have the time or I don't feel like I have the capacity for it. But I want to do it. So I guess I have to cut down on other things I'm doing, honestly. Make an account name Mike from PA Jing. Okay, dude. They weren't ready for this type of stream with Hassan. Huh? Have you watched this? A Chinese new green energy thing? Okay, hold on. What's this? Oh yeah. I saw the portable windmill. I did see the portable windmill. I'm tired of making social media accounts that I don't use. I'm good. I know. I feel you. Me too. This is proof the YouTube is fucking you over. People want to watch you. They're just not promoting you. I mean, I'm one of the most prominent anti-Zionists on the American internet. Like, I'm in the top like couple hundred people on this issue. Of course, I'm blacklisted. Like, I heard there's a new TikTok competitor that I really need to check out. What's it called, chat? Scroll up, something like that. Yeah. Did you hear Hassan say he's planning something with Zoran in February? The haters about to be big bad. I mean, basically everybody who's left wing likes Hassan, and the left wing are the only people that actually want to fight Trump. Like, everybody knows that, right? It's not confusing. And this is the problem that people like Hutch and Destiny have. The grassroots hates Trump and they want to fight Trump. And you can grift off of being anti-Trump for a while. But the moment real electoral politics starts happening, centrists like Republicans. And so there's a contradiction. There's a cognitive dissonance. And so in order for the cognitive dissonance to be resolved, you have to then attack the left for being insufficiently pro-Democrat, while at the same time, the Democratic Party is working with Trump. And the reason why the left doesn't like the Democratic Party is because it's working with Trump. So you have this convoluted, contradictory thought that Hassan is actually bad because he's not fully supportive of Democrats. And he's not fully supportive of Democrats because they support Donald Trump. But to oppose Donald Trump, you have to fully support Democrats. You see, the contradiction is not very complicated. But if you're low IQ, it requires you to hold 3 thoughts in your head. And that's too much for them because they forget the third thought. They can only hold 2 thoughts in their head at the same time. Oh shit, this is so bad. This is how you know she crushed it. I spent all of every moment of the election pressuring the Democrats to take a winning position. I, unlike you idiots, saw the writing on the wall and tried to stop it. My only regret is naively think that Devs actually cared about winning. Oh, did Sean think that Kamala was going to lose? I thought I was the only one. Like, literally, in the whole orbit. Because I thought everybody was following Edigermentum. I know he was probably anti-Kamala, like me. Like, I know he was anti-Kamala. But did he actually think she was going to lose? I thought like most people had Hassan's take where it was like, I really hate the genocide, but people don't seem to care, and it looks like Kamala's gonna win. Like, I think that's like what a lot of people believe. That was the Edigermentum line. The Edigermentum line was the online left is kind of irrelevant because we care about the genocide, but regular Democrats don't care, and that's why Kamala is brat and Kamala is gonna win. Like, I thought that was the, like, you know, the other Hassan, you know, extended universe people. They were like, yeah, we're just so powerless and you know, irrelevant. Nobody cares about this. You think they rigged this past elections? No. All swing states is pretty sus. I mean, I predicted she was going to lose them all, except for Wisconsin. I mean, a lot of people went after me as being, I mean, fuck, like even Hassan kind of went after me a bit for my prediction. Does anyone have that clip? Schrodinger's leftist, irrelevant to victory, responsible for failure. Don't vote for her. You are not necessary to this coalition, and we will get it done without you again. Fuck you expecting us to do? Beg? LOL. Hutch is one of those people who, how do I put this? Hutch holding the opinions he publicly holds is because he's a born cuck. And you should tell him I said this. The reason why he is what he is because he's a fucking loser and a moron, and he's, for some reason, associated himself with the extended Destiny orbit because he thought it was going to be good for his career, and then it totally failed, and it's not good for his career. And he was proven wrong on every single point, but he's alienated so many other people. I used to be nice to Hutch. And then when Biden was sworn in, I started criticizing the bad policies, and Hutch was a Democratic Party shill. And I explained to him that the things they are doing are going to cause them to fail. And I understood the legislative process better than Hutch, and I predicted things like Build Back Better wouldn't pass, and it didn't pass. LSF tries so hard to push him, and the dude could barely crack 200 viewers. Yes, because those are not real people on LSF. It's about 250 Destiny diehards and bots, and it just doesn't work. You could just go and check out these people. The only reason they're even relevant is because the people like them because they post like anti-Hassan. Like in the last 90 days, Hutch has lost 700 followers. It's fucking crazy. People actually like going, oh yeah, I follow Hutch. Fuck that guy. Here's a comparison of our careers. In the last 90 days, I've gained 3,000 followers. I've averaged 3,500 viewers. My peak viewers was 8,765. I've made 67 streams. He's also done 67 streams. I've streamed 353 hours. He streamed 383 hours. So Hutch and I stream approximately the same. His peak viewers is 10 times smaller than mine. Presumably he got raided or something, or was front page. I mean, losing 700 followers. Like, look at his follower count. Look at that bot spike. That's fucking awesome, dude. Look at the follower count. Whee! The moment he started dick riding Destiny. This is actually approximately when he started dick riding Destiny, when Joe Biden got sworn in, which was, January 20th, 2021. That was actually near the peak of his career. Holy fuck. When he became a Destiny dick rider, that was like the peak of his career. Speaking of bot spikes, and by the way, I'm sorry for doing this, chat, because it's very early into the stream, and people are waking up, so we like to do our petty shit at the beginning because it's funny. I hope you guys don't mind that. That's kind of something I do because I want to keep the more substantive content a little bit later into the stream so that I don't have to repeat myself. Because if I'm like talking about shit right away, I'm gonna have to be duplicative because people are gonna come in and just say the same shit. Election night, Hassan had you on and he did not have the info on hand to talk about the election stats you were bringing up because dead air time with, I understand you're not a newsroom in your soul. I think it's a bad intro to Mike for normies watching. Hassan was asking me what was going to happen to Pennsylvania and we didn't have the returns. You know what I mean? Like, it was too early in the night for there was no returns. So what do you want me to do? Make it up? But I actually did say she was going to lose Pennsylvania based on what I saw, and I was correct. And then I also said she deserved to lose because she's a fucking genocider, and I voted PSL, which is the most vindicated I ever was. We're studying the fall off of Hutch, yeah. So Hutch and I stream about the same amount, and I had 1.2 million hours watched, and he had 97,000 hours watched. I want you to understand that I had 12 times as much reach than he did. So when Hassan talks about this guy, he is a fucking cuck. He is meaningless. And it's fucking crazy that 700 people were like, who the fuck is Hutch? They clicked on his stream. They're like, when did I follow this guy? And they clicked on follow. And over the last year, 2,588 people on net realized they were following Hutch and were like, what the fuck? Get me the fuck out of here. And they clicked on follow. Now, people unfollow me too. I'm mean. I say something they don't like. Like I do something that is annoying, whatever the fuck, right? I get people that unfollow me. I'm too mean to anarchists. Somebody goes, Mike's a white leftist or something, and they say that means that I'm racist. Or they say something about my views, but they don't actually watch me. They just assume my views are something, and then people go and start spreading it because they see other people saying it. And that's the way it goes sometimes, right? People unfollow me from time to time. I have unfollowed you for being dumb about physics. I have never been wrong about physics on this stream. I think you didn't understand time dilation probably one time when I talked about it. I'm pretty sure you just didn't understand what time dilation was. And you were your mind rebelled, which makes sense. It is fucking weird. Time dilation is one of those things where you're like, wait a minute, you can time travel? And the answer is yes. You can time travel. It's based on how fast you go. If this is unsatisfying to you, I'm sorry, but it's how it works. If you go really fast, you basically are time traveling relative to people that are still on the earth. People don't like this. They think it's bullshit, but no, it's true. You poorly described a computing concept one time. I mean, I'm sure I poorly described shit. I think time travel is probably the wrong way to phrase that, as it invokes a specific idea in people's imagination that is non-correct. I mean, you can't go back. You're time traveling in someone else's perspective. Your cells will still age in your perspective, and life's demand is the same. Yes, that's true of time travel in most media. Like, nobody thinks Marty is immune to aging because he's got the fucking DeLorean. Anyway, point I'm trying to make is, Hutch has thousands of people go, oh God, what is this stream? They click it, they're like, ew, this guy's a fucking cuck liberal, ew, and they hit unfollow. What a year. 5 million hours watched for me. That's crazy. In the last year? Wow. Holy fucking hell, dude. The problem with people like Hutch is, this is an example of somebody who's now, his entire brand is committed to centrist liberalism. So there's no way to change Hutch's mind because he's not an honest political actor. And the problem for Hutch is he was never very bright or knowledgeable when he formed his opinions, right? He made his brand, I am a liberal, before he ever studied anything. So now when people come and bring him arguments from different perspectives, he's never heard them before. He doesn't know them. He can't counter them. And so all he could do is go into personal attacks. It's the same thing with Destiny, right? They're not making their opinions based on like a rational assessment of information, right? They have their opinions because of a social orientation towards someone like myself or Hassan. So they are stupid, evil pieces of shit, and they know it, but they form their opinions and their brand before they actually did the homework. And so how do you deal with people like this? People who have basically made a brand of being a liberal. The answer is you destroy them. The answer is you render their platform to be zero by exposing them and aggressively going after them as much as you can, so that everyone knows they're a dumb fuck. And I want him to aggressive liberalism, and it's working across the aisle with Joe Biden. Also, he's a gigantic, ginormous pussy. How is Hutch's bread getting buttered? I don't know. I honestly don't know. That maybe his wife has a job? You mean coward? Oh, so true. How much money does it owe me? $1,500. $1,500. His wife's boyfriend has a job? Oh, okay. Destiny accidentally added an extra zero when botting his stream? Okay, hold on. I mean, oh, this is funny. Hold on. What?
Pestiny got caught botting 100K viewers today, too. That's even funnier because he has like, what? How many views does he normally have? 2K, 3K? I assume somewhere along those lines. Like, his viewers randomly spiked to 114K. Oh, wow, that's cool. Wow, he's really popping off, dude. He's really a force to be reckoned with. What is this? His graph? Average.
Wait. Is there a YouTube out? Oh my god. You can tell when he started botting, chat. It was in January, like earlier this month. He got down to like the low of like 2.2 concurrent viewers, and that means he's half the size of me, and his ego just couldn't handle it. So he started botting. He botted himself to be a larger streamer than me. That's fucking crazy. Like, look at these viewers, man. Damn. Now he's getting to 6-7K. His ego is assuaged. Oops. My guess, if I had to guess, was that he meant to add 1,000 bots, and he accidentally his total super chat revenue is 282,000, I guess, for his whole career. So he probably was trying to add 1,000 bots, and he accidentally put 1,000 into the thing when there was already 2 zeros there. So he just went and typed 1,000 real quick and hit enter, and it added 100,000. And 100,000 bots costs a lot of money. So the moment he had 100,000 bots, he probably just hit end stream immediately, so he wouldn't have to pay. They come in a pack of 100 like screw ups. Order 1,000. Holy shit. One of the other things that's really funny about Destiny and why it's so fun to make fun of him is every time he kind of associates himself with somebody, there's this guy named Ryan McBath. Wasn't that one of Destiny's friends? Ryan McBath. Macbeth. His name is Macbeth. Okay. This fat slob. He was like one of these big anti-leftist, Biden war in Israel and Ukraine dick riders. And now this guy is defending the killing of Alex Pretti. Everybody who's a Destiny orbiter becomes a fascist. Misinformation and foreign influence. Minneapolis ICE incident. Separating facts from narrative.
What kind of...
So every single time Destiny starts working with someone, they end up completely becoming... I mean, he's got Colin Powell books in the background. I've actually read this book. It's dog shit. Embarrassingly enough, I did read Colin Powell's book 20 years ago or something. And it's dog shit. The funniest part of the book is when he steps into a punji stick trap in Vietnam when he's a lieutenant. And there's human shit inside of it. And so he has to go back to the States. He fell into a booby trap. Colin Powell punji stick trap. During his first tour in Vietnam, 25-year-old Captain Colin Powell was wounded by a Viet Cong punji stick trap while patrolled near a Vietnamese Laotian border. The bamboo stake went through his foot, causing a severe infection. Sir, did you step on an enemy booby trap? Here's a purple heart, sir. Fuck, that's funny.
Concurrent. Average concurrent viewers 3.8K, 8K, 6K, and then today 141,000. Nah, he's just popping off, dude.
I'll have to
you
check
don't
it
understand.
out. By the way, if you want me to check things out, make sure you're putting it in the news, comment, and suggestion section in the Discord chat. I look at that pretty often. So if you wanted me to, I might not check it every single day because, like, you know, if some big news event is happening and I'm mostly talking about that. Chad, it's real. He got raided by Kai Cenat. Yeah, exactly.
This is legit. He's got motion, twin. It's just totally normal.
The funniest thing about this is Destiny bought 100,000 bots. And even with 100,000 bots, even with Destiny having 100,000 bots, he still didn't average as much as Hassan. Oh, did you see the gold silver crash? I mean, did it even crash? It's up. It's like, did it even crash? I mean, it's at 108. Is this even a crash? It took like a microsecond to like, it took a tiny little dip from the high. This isn't a crash. A crash would be to go down to 50. This was slight profit taking. I mean, it's still up from 5 days ago when it was at $92. Like, there is no crash. Have you been advising chat to invest in silver and gold, Mike? I am not your financial advisor. However, I did point out that silver was on a crazy run back in November when it was at $48. And I said, chat, whenever silver hits $50, that's considered to be like a crazy level. That's a crazy number. And that would signal something weird is going on with the economy. So I never make financial advice decisions. I did point out silver was interesting back in November. Mike, I have a bunch of scrap silverware and I tried calling a few places and no one will buy it because the smelting plants aren't taking more silver. So nobody wants to pay spot. That's not a good sign. Schumer's job approval broke negative 40% today. It's now rivaling Mitch McConnell's all-time low. Only 17% of people approve of Chuck Schumer. They have to be 65 plus. Even the 65 plus don't like him. The rich don't like him. The rich actually hate him the most. And when I say rich, I just mean well-to-do. He's negative 15 with Democrats. More Democrats strongly disapprove than strongly approve. See, this is the problem that America has. The problem that we have in America is that we have no way of removing Democratic Party leadership. And that's why it's not a Democratic Party. I think one of the things I'd like is the ability to fire these people in some way. I mean, what the fuck will silver do for you when everyone is starving? Seeds is the better investment. Presumably you understand that seeds do nothing without arable land and water, right? So, you know, isn't it ironic that the Democratic Party isn't Democratic and the Republican Party want kings? I mean, they're basically the same. All right, let's watch this. Asmongold is absolutely Asmongold. Not a financial advisor, but I was really helped out weeks ago when you mentioned Chapter 7 bankruptcy. I got connected with an attorney. They think me and my wife are good candidates for Chapter 7 for the first time in a long time. I have some hope with my financial struggles. I highly suggest people declare bankruptcy if you have a lot of unsecured debt. If you have a lot of unsecured debt, bankruptcy is right for you. Because honestly, your credit rating probably is dog shit anyway. And you're never going to get out from under that shit because the interest rates are so high. So many of my buddies thought investors would turn to crypto when the dollar started cratering, but they turned to precious metals instead. Precious metals, I mean, We've been using gold for literally 10,000 years, so it's hard to imagine that some dumb coin in a computer is going to do better than that. Unironically, bankruptcy law is very generous. Yeah, because rich people use it too. I use bankruptcy to buy my house. Okay, this is some sort of weird scheme. I'm not going to even read your... You do have to pay tax on discharged debt, but you can prove that you are underwater from the debt. The government will waive the tax. Yes, I know. Bankruptcy law is fucking based. And honestly, you'll have your... If you don't have the same toxic, you know, situation that got you under that debt, like if you would be basically above water, except for the debt payments you're making, bankruptcy will probably improve your credit score within 2 years. Like, even though you just declared bankruptcy, if you build your credit up from there, you'll probably be in a better state by at most 2 years. People talk about how it's on there for 7 years, which is true. Land ownership in this economy is bourgeois decadence. Well, the reason why assets are going to continue to go up more and more and more is because as productivity increases, the amount of labor we need to satisfy consumption goes down. Therefore, there's more competition for the remaining wage jobs. More competition for the remaining wage jobs equals lower income relative to and assets become the limiter of production. My dad is a bankruptcy lawyer, and 90% of it is bank arguing with a failed small business owner that they should be allowed to liquidate the business assets to pay for the loan balance. It's basically an argument of, this is mine personally, not the business's. And hey, you brought a golf course with the money we lent you, so we're going to sell that to pay ourselves back. Yeah, that's... Hey, Mike, bad credit falls off your report after 7 years, same time as bankruptcy, so I just don't pay my debt. I forced settlement through arbitration with my credit cards. They just drop the case because it's too expensive for them, just by experience. The problem with that is you can get sued. And you have a lot of shit hanging over your head, and you can never really, like, rebuild your credit. The thing about bankruptcy is the government steps in and says to all the banks and creditors, you can't bother this person anymore. That's literally what bankruptcy is. Bankruptcy is the government comes in and said, banks, you can't bother this person anymore. So it's way, way, way better than just like defaulting on shit, because you can get sued and they could take your shit with the sheriff. Now, maybe they haven't done it to you yet, and I'm happy that they didn't. I don't want you to have a sheriff showing up at your place and taking your stuff. I mean, that's what the sheriff does all day. What the sheriff does all day is take people's shit to pay off like lawsuits or to evict you. Like, say, I mean, honestly, sheriffs, most of what they do is evict people from homes, but that's probably the most of their work is ripping tenants out of for not paying rent or whatever. But they also come and take your shit. They also go to the bank and take out money out of your accounts. You do not want to have that happen to you. Trust me. And then they could also attach to your paycheck, and they could just start taking money directly out of your paycheck if you have a job. Like, again, you don't want any of this to happen to you. Bankruptcy is far better than that. I used to work in collections during college, and before the FDCPA, they could do crazy shit. They would fax dunning notices to the sheriff in a small town and have them deliver it to the debtors. All right, let's watch this Asmongold fold. Asmongold, or like Asmonfold. My favorite thing about Asmongold as an enemy is the more people watch him, the more of his nature as an actual lolcow will emerge. Asmongold started out as a lolcow, but because of his right-wing grift and the fact that he has an audience, he has shifted that to he's going to lolcow other people, or at least try. What party am I? What party am I? I'll give you a hint. What's the best hint? Let's keep going.
Did you see this old clip of him where he says he knows more than the public, but he's quiet as a mouse? Yes, I did.
Holy shit. Asmongold, neutral description of Asmongold, 140,000 likes. Mike, do you have Canadian viewers?
Okay, you see these okay, chat, that stuff on his wall is his mouth blood, because he, instead of getting up to brush his teeth at night, his gums start bleeding in the middle of the night, and he wipes his gum blood on the wall.
Very comfy. Why you got all those guys where to swear this on?
Okay, I'm sorry, I can't take it.
Average female reaction to Asmongold. I think the thing that really fucking rules about my life is that it's fucking awesome, and Asmongold's life sucks ass. Like, that's all I have to say. All his friends are sex criminals, Holy shit, that's amazing. I don't know. He says he likes his life, and I believe him. It's called cope. You can't actually believe that Asmongold likes the fact that he's surrounded by filth. He just has senile squalor syndrome. That's it. He has it's from a frontal lobe damage. He doesn't have, you know, if you have ADHD or you have like some executive function problems, and say you get behind, I'm sure this has happened to a lot of the people in the chat. Have you ever had like a week where you kind of were busy, or you're a little depressed, and you got behind cleaning your house, and maybe the sink filled up with dishes and the trash cans were full, and you had like piles of dirty clothes, and you weren't making your bed. Maybe you went 3 or 4 days without showering, you know, and then you wake up one day and the sun's shining and you're in the space and you put something on the TV and you just clean up everything all at once, right? I'm sure this happens a lot to many people in the chat. Imagine that never happens. Imagine that you never, ever, ever shower. You never clean your room. You never clean your kitchen. You never clean up the trash. That's Asmongold's existence. Do you think that's comfortable?
Okay, you see these okay, chat, that stuff on his wall is his mouth blood, because he, instead of getting up to brush his teeth at night, his gums start bleeding in the middle of the night, and he wipes his gum blood on the wall.
Very comfy.
Like a woman on the other side of the internet is gagging. He's so vile. Like, I know this storm is uncovered, but I think it's important to highlight how socialists respond to climate change catastrophe when compared to right-wingers.
To name Lisa Garcia as our Commissioner of the Department of Environmental Protection. In that role, I will turn to Lisa to lead some of the most important work that City Hall does on behalf of New Yorkers, protecting them each day from pollution, leading stormwater management.
Why doesn't he hire a maid? He is very rich. He could probably hire a live-in CNA to bathe him. He chooses this for some reason. The answer to that, Taser-faced, is because to pick up the phone and call a maid service and be like, hey, I need you to guys, can you come every Tuesday, or every Tuesday and Saturday or whatever? That gives him too much anxiety. Like, picking up the phone and talking to someone he doesn't know gives him so much anxiety that he has a meltdown and a panic attack. He chooses it because it's his brand. Guys, no, it's not. No, he doesn't. And no, it isn't. That's called cope. That's cope. He doesn't choose this shit. That's just cope that him and his fans have come up with. He doesn't choose anything. He doesn't have the mental capacity to choose. I mean, look at the way he feeds himself. Do you think he chooses fast food because Mike, he's toured the world's cuisines and he's experienced so much, and so he chooses to eat Whataburger for every meal because that's just what he likes the most? No, he's a fucking mentally ill, stunted child, and he gets really hungry, and then the impulse hits his brain, and it overwhelms his executive dysfunction, and so he clicks something on fucking Uber Eats or whatever, and it gets delivered. He's barely above an animal. So he doesn't hire a maid because he doesn't have executive function. He doesn't get a live-in helper because the process of hiring a helper is too much for him. Asmon is like this because he is lazy. He doesn't get a maid because he is ashamed. That's why he loves his audience, because they praise him for being the way he is, and it drowns out the shame. It doesn't drown out the shame. And it's not laziness. I mean, laziness is when you need to do a pile of laundry. It's Sunday. You sleep in. You've got a pile of laundry to do, but instead of starting it, you go on your couch and you scroll on your phone and maybe turn on something on the TV, and you don't do stuff that you know you need to do. You decide to just relax instead. That's being lazy, right? That's being lazy. That's normal. All of us from time to time are lazy. And in fact, biologically, laziness is kind of a good trait, because when we evolved, food was scarce. So unnecessary dithering around burned energy, and people that didn't have the lazy gene, in periods of famine, they overworked and they might starve to death, literally. The fact that your body and your mind is programmed to take it easy is a strategy to preserve energy, right? So it is something that evolved within us. He's not being lazy, okay? He is brain damaged, and I honestly love it. Because Asmongold is one of those people that proves why we need to tax the rich. Imagine if, instead of a pothole, We took money from Asmongold and we fixed that pothole. We hired men who are not lazy, men who get up out of bed at 5 in the morning and throw on a highly reflective jacket and a hard hat and pick up a coal shovel, and they drive around town filling in potholes. I want to take money from men like Asmongold, boys like Asmongold, and I want to pay men that wake up at 5 a.m. to fix shit. That's why we need to tax Asmongold more. Like, you're wrong about that. He's at a very deep level ashamed of his individual state of life and mind. He's a very sad individual that acts like he doesn't care about what others think. That's showing him to the world is effective. He feels the shame, and one day it will be solved. There's only one way for Asmongold. Women fix shit too, of course. Of course they do. And I've worked with women on road construction, so I know you're right. But I'm just making fun of Asmongold. See, the thing about Asmongold is he believes in all that macho bullshit. He's a misogynist who believes all that macho bullshit. But when you actually look at him and judge him by his own standards, he's a pathetic worm. If you look at Asmongold for the standards he sets out, what he claims to want, he's a subhuman. And I think it's funny to point that out. Now, I don't agree with the way he looks at the world, but it is based to apply his own standards to him.
I actually covered it as well. Oh yeah, speaking of Asmongold, Tone's court case is finalized at this point, and I believe there's new details that are coming out right now. But basically, Asmongold has been noticeably absent from the conversation. Weirdly enough, he loves farming drugs. I'm glad that Moist Critical's community is turning on Asmongold. Moist Critical, Asmongold commenting what Alex Pretti did was absolutely R-worded, guys, but also Asmongold. Felt I needed to share a portion of Charlie's audience. Also watch Zach, aka Asmongold. He shouldn't be getting away with this insane victim blaming, especially with the size of his platform. Notice comment on the Renee Good, RIP Bozo. Asmongold calling someone else's actions R-worded while living in a fortress with Dr. Pepper cans and dried tooth blood is peak comedy. We are reaching levels of irony that shouldn't even be possible. It's truly a bottom of the barrel performance from the human personification of a grease trap. Hell yeah.
I just like watching that. Chat, I'm enjoying this because I think a lot of people, they look at this situation and they're like, oh, Mike, you're doing drama. This is not drama. This is the way that the commentariat works in 2026. Asmongold represents Trumpism. Hassan represents progressive left. I represent the progressive left. So the way people attack our movements isn't by talking about my ideas, because when they try, they get humiliated. Just go look at that thing I tweeted the other day of me debating Destiny. Destiny tried to debate me about the agency problem and the market manipulation stock buybacks causing more income inequality. How do you think that worked out for him? He looked like a fucking moron. So he doesn't do that anymore, okay? He doesn't talk about shit because he doesn't have an education. He's not an autodidact. He's only read, according to him, he read one book in his life, and it was in 2024. So, like, yeah, of course, they're not having discourse. I would love to have discourse. I'd love to have political discussions about policy. That would be fucking based. It would be hilarious. I'd love it. But they don't do that anymore because they learned their fucking lesson.
I told you, man, too much spotlight, and all of a sudden, oh, there it is, because he's more unbiased than the media and speaks common sense. Yes, at least you get it. Unlike these R words in here, I think people don't agree with them. Shouldn't matter, blah, 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 all this stuff. Why were there normies in there to begin with? What do you mean? This is the reason why there hasn't been a lot of friction between Asmongold and Moist Critical, because Moist Critical has...
You watch this from another channel? This is the bot channel? Hassan versus the bot channel? I can't keep up with these fucking things. Also, this is really long and this is shorter, so let's do this shorter one.
I don't think this guy's a saint, right? Like, what? I don't think that this is some kind of like innocent guy.
Yes, he is. Shut the fuck up, bro. What do you mean? Like, this is what I mean with this like wishy-washy bull. He's like, yeah, I don't think this guy's a saint.
Why is he not a saint? An ICU nurse who went to protect a woman and was shot and killed in cold blood is not a saint? Then what the fuck is a saint? What the fuck is a saint? He's literally saintly. He's a secular saint. As far as we have saints anymore, Alex Pretti is a saint. Normal page Fox Boy reactions to Asmongold are so fucking funny.
Nazi take power. Don't ever listen to the press. The press is the enemy of the people. These international organizations like the UN and the WEF, those are also enemies of the people. They exist purely to subvert your goals, to destroy your country, and to advance their own globalist agenda. They don't care about France. They don't care about your culture. They don't care about your religion. They don't care about your history. They don't care about anything about you. All they care about is using you as a vehicle to advance some worldview they have. Never listen to any of them. If it was up to me, they would all be defunded and probably just made illegal because they're effectively government organizations that are working against the people. That's it. I would never fund a single fucking cent. That's what I would do. These international organizations that want to complain about human rights have no loyalty to anything other than their ideology. They have no loyalty to any group of people. They have no loyalty to any country. They have no loyalty to any culture. All they do is sit around and complain. Human rights? Get the fuck out of here.
Anyway, look into his one. Oh my God! Look at the bot downvotes. Look at the bot downvotes. The top comment has 1.4K likes, but the thread itself only has 942. And Reddit is becoming so manipulated, it's actually unusable. Anyone look into this unwashed idiot for political commentary should be deeply ashamed. There was a fan meetup where all his fans met up for a convention. Oh my God, can I see this? I gotta see the Asmongold meetup. What the fuck? Why are these comments being removed? This is one of the few times where the phrase unwashed idiot is literal and not hyperbolic. I gotta see this. I gotta see this, chat. Glad to see some Asmongold discussion here. He has a seriously massive platform for how much he slides under the radar, and he's really a garbage person. Guessing anyone who doesn't use Twitch has no idea who he is. Strong disagree. I'm getting pissed with Reddit, how much this jackass has been on my feed today. We need less, not more. Never more. We need 100% reduction at jackass idiot streamer posts. I don't give a fuck about how many 12-year-olds watch him on Twitch. Seriously, there's no amount of views this man could get on Twitch that would justify ever bringing him up. Okay, if you're this type of person, you're a dumb fuck. You're actively harmful. I honestly think this may be an Asmongold fan, to be honest. It has never been correct to ignore prominent right-wingers and let them just sit there spitting hate. Like, that's never been true. It hasn't been true since fucking Rush Limbaugh. What are you doing?
Hasanabi, Nick Fuentes went after you to defend Israel. Lol, the pivot is crazy. Yeah, I want to see the Asmongold, like Asmonfold tweet, but then I want to also see like what he said after. Because, here's both of them, right? Like, look, Asmongold is now calling ICE the Gestapo. Lol, the tides are turning and he knows he can't defend this.
If you have a police department that's not accountable or a law enforcement agency that's not accountable.
Bro, I can't believe he steals my talking points. Like, he'll call me a terrorist for the entire week, and then he will turn around and bar for bar, verbatim, rip my to his audience. And the same dumb in his community that are like, yeah, Based, he is a terrorist last week, will go, yeah, Based, you're awesome, Asmongold, the week after. How is this? Like, what are we doing here? This motherfucker plagiarizing my How stupid, how mentally stunted is your audience that they can't even see this?
That basically is the Gestapo. That is the secret police. That is the SS.
Come on.
If you have a police department that's not accountable.
Anyway, that's too short of a clip to make.
What makes them the secret police is that their identities are also secret. That's what makes them secret police, Asmongold. They all wear masks and nobody knows what the name of the officer is who attacks people. That makes them a secret police because we can't hold them accountable. That's a problem, isn't it? We shouldn't have any secret police. Somebody says, I am using the government's authority in order to investigate you. We should know who they are.
Accurate assessment over where he's at, but I suspect that he's trying to do a wishy-washy middle of the ground bullshit. Even r/Asmongold is saying, okay, this doesn't look good. Just last week, he asked JD Vance to round up anti-ICE protesters and put him in concentration camps.
We haven't even gotten started.
Someone needs to do Asmongold this week versus Asmongold last week, like an Asmonfold compilation.
So the government decides what's hateful or not, and whenever they make that decision, they decide to censor you arbitrarily. And people in Europe are okay with this? Man, y'all need to throw some TNT into the water or some shit. Like, you can't let this happen. Yeah, bro, you're going to let these clowns boss you around. No, we're not. Well, then organize and get rid of him. It's hard to say whether he committed a crime, but there's a higher standard of conduct for people that are green card holders than people who are naturalized citizens. And he wasn't meeting that conduct, so he's getting deported, hopefully. And there should be? Yeah, they should be. And I support this.
Can I get your perspective? After Minnesota, there's no way to reach my MAGA mom. I saw a Gopnik tweet that described right-wingers to MAGA bases unable to have any critical thinking skills and how it's connected to mental illness. Science research will take at least 50 years to study the brains of mold men. Facts, logic, and reasoning doesn't work because they have to win. Well, you have to understand that I've tried to explain this before. For a lot of people, there was a severe damage to them done as a child where they were taught that being right is more important than being correct. And what I mean by that is they were not taught being wrong and then changing your position when you get new evidence is actually morally correct. For them, it's about the social posture of being right. You get what I mean? Does that make sense? Like, for a lot of people, they want to be thought of as right more than they care about being correct. And so when you bring them evidence that they're not right, it actually causes them to double down. And they're also playing a social game. And they're getting dopamine rewards for pissing you off. Like, that's the other factor that you're not getting. I don't know if you know, as an older brother, occasionally I used to tease my younger siblings. And it was funny. At the time as a child, I would get a kick out of watching them overreact. And understanding that that's what a lot of people are doing. They are stunted like I was when I was 9 years old. They have that same mentality as an adult. So when you go to them, and you're serious, fascists don't give a fuck about that. They don't care about logic or truth or words. As Sartre said, they have the right to play. They're playing, you're treating stuff with seriousness. And because you have no ability to hold them to account, then they're never going to engage with you in the way that you want them to engage with you. Because they don't have the values that you have. You value truth. You value correcting yourself. You value aligning your beliefs with the actual world. They don't. In fact, they think you're a dumbass for thinking that even exists in the first place. Sometimes, like, I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. A lot of people will say that history is written by the victor. History is written by the victor. There's two ways to interpret that, chat. There's the way that you and I interpret that, which is when you're learning about historical events, you should be aware cognitively of who is writing the account. And that power influences scholarship. Because if somebody's writing the history of, say, a king, and that king's in power, if they write something that is unflattering about that king, they might get killed. So you know that context. History is written by the victor. So oftentimes it's propagandistic towards people in power. And so you need to critically examine that history. That's the way you and I interpret that saying. History is written by the victor. People like Asmongold, they see it as a call to action. If you win, you can enforce your truth. History is what the people in power say it is, so you need to be in power so you can make your truth real. And it's real in the only way that things matter, socially. So if I lie, but it ends up with me in power, I can make my lie true to every following generation. That's the way they look at it. That's the way they listen. And they think you're a dope for not trying to play the game in the same way. But when you're talking to a conservative and you're valuing truth, you're valuing objectivity, you're valuing history, you're valuing reality. They don't care. They're playing a social game. So if you want to convince a Trumpist, you want to convince right-wingers, you have to play the social game. And that's why they hate cancel culture so much. Because cancel culture, the idea that you could be held accountable for your evil shit, is what contains the right. When you enact consequences on them socially for their right-wing shit, they hate that. And so in order for you to change right-wing people's minds, you have to make being right-wing unprofitable. Then you could start to have a conversation.
Completely. I hope they do this to more of them. We have enough troublemakers in the country already without importing new ones on green cards to start even more trouble. Who needs this?
He didn't even change some words around when copying your homework. No, like literally bar for bar, I have said those exact same words. And I'm willing to bet. I am willing to. There's a video out there of me saying that. And then Asmongold replying to me like, yeah, this guy's a terrorist. Yeah, Gestapo, calling ICE Gestapo. Yeah, that's emotional. You're emotional. I won the argument.
Fort Snelling used to be, historically, it used to be a concentration camp for Native Americans. And they were...
they love to use these, they use the Nazi, they use like Nazi imagery and Nazi vocabulary as like spells on white people. They're like, okay, I'm going to say Hitler, Nazi, concentration camp, and then they're going to have to agree with me. They do.
You know?
We have not even gotten started.
He did the same thing. Sucker did the same thing with Israel too, bar for bar. After calling me a terrorist for my takes on Israel, he literally stole the entire thing, and now is like, yeah, based. Israel is violating Americans' domestic laws. We gotta stop it.
Trust me, this is, if it was up.
But yeah, he'll go back to riding ICE again. Okay, he has to play this delicate.
To me, this would only be the beginning. This is we just getting started. Because the thing is too, VP. Yeah, exactly. Like we.
By the way, I think there is no other way to read accounts like this than Israel first, guys. Sorry, I don't give a shit. You're not a real centrist. You only care about Israel. Speaking of Israel, like. This guy, United States of Israel, right? That's what I said. Really great job legitimizing this dumb LARPing asshole pod save America, bros. You should feel proud of yourselves. To which I responded with, is protecting Israel all you care about? You should care about other things as well. Israel is deeply unpopular and deserve worse. It's a fascist ethno-state. To which he replied with, guy who turns every single unrelated thing into Israel. Wow, obsessed with Israel much? Is that all you care about? Not to be openly flippant, but I truly do not give a shit about Israel right now. Our country is getting absolutely demolished from within. It doesn't seem like it. It kind of seems like you do still care about Israel. Because why else would you get mad at this? Why else would you get mad at this so much? This one, for the record, this one triggered the out of every Zionist, okay? This one hit directly at, it struck a chord so hard. Every libtard on the timeline that is Israel first has lost minds over it. It must have hit a nerve.
Reminds me of this stand-up bit. Okay, hold on.
You cannot always outsmart somebody. You can't. You can't win a rational argument with somebody that doesn't care about logic. You can't. If you can't outsmart them, what do you got to do? You got to outdumb them. Try it. Fucking works. When they say some dumb shit, be like, what's the dumbest thing I could say right now? And watch their brain explode, you know? I was getting tires put on my monster truck the other day. Because I'm an alpha male. And this guy sat down beside me in the waiting room, and Fox News was on the TV. They were being all fair and balanced. And this dude sat down right beside me. No, they were talking about abortion on Fox News. This dude sits right beside me in the waiting room, because he looks at me and he's like, you're on my team? And I'm like, no, I'm not. And I have earphones on, you know? I'm wearing earphones. It's the international symbol for don't fucking talk to me. Right? And I'm drinking energy drinks, listening to true crime, trying to figure out why I'm in a grumpy mood, you know? I'm like, maybe it's the stimulants and the murder. Who knows? And he nudges me and he goes, abortion's a real shame, ain't it? And I just went, and in my mind, I was like, you gotta outdumb him. So I put my voice on. I looked him in the eye and said, hell yeah, buddy, it sure is. That's why I like gay people so much. And he looked at me like I was there, and there. He was so confused. And he goes, what? I was like, bro, gay people get less abortions than any other group of people, dude. If you're pro-life, you pretty much got to be pro-gay as well. It's like a catch-26, you know.
I think my general assessment with the state of American culture is that woke is back. I called the top of MAGA Trumpism perfectly. Like, I called the exact moment when it peaked. You guys remember when I was like, the tides have turned. We are winning. It's Jover. Why is the State Department going to be at the Olympics? The Olympics has always been propaganda. 81 years ago today, the Red Army liberated Auschwitz. You know how you know that? You know how you know that, chatter? Because I fucking retweeted it and it came on your timeline. Vasily Gromanditsky, an officer of the 60th Army, offered this description. I realized that they were prisoners and not workers, so I called out, "You are free, come out." They began rushing toward us in a big crowd. They were weeping, embracing us, and kissing us. I felt a grievance on behalf of mankind that these fascists had made such a mockery of us. It roused me and all the soldiers to go and quickly destroy them and send them to hell. Georgy Elisvetsitsky, another of the first Soviet soldiers to enter the camp, admitted in 1980 that my blood runs cold when I mention Auschwitz even now. He describes the liberation in dramatic detail. When I entered the barrack, I saw living skeletons lying on 3-tiered bunks. As in a fog, I hear my soldiers saying, "You are free, comrades." I sensed that they did not understand us and began speaking to them in Russian, Polish, German, Ukrainian dialects, unbuttoning my leather jacket to show them my medals. Then I use Yiddish. The reaction is unpredictable. They think I am provoking them. They begin to hide. And only when I say to them, "Do not be afraid. I am a colonel of the Soviet army and a Jew. We have come to liberate you." Finally, as if the barrier collapsed, they rushed toward us, shouting, fell on their knees, kissed the flaps of our overcoats, and threw their arms around our legs. And we could not move. We stood motionless, while unexpected tears ran down our cheeks. Again, people will tell you that the Soviets were as bad as the Nazis. Literally insane. Literally the most insane shit that people will say with a straight face.
Because it literally exposes the stupidity of like Israel first people that are trying to be progressive here in America, right? Like people who love Israel that are trying to also present themselves as like liberal centrists or whatever. The identical ways in which Israel operates and ICE operates is identical because they're both fascist, okay? And in such a short way, in such a concise way, you can just make that comparison and just slam it right there and everybody understands it. And these guys get triggered to no end. You want a context?
I think they should deport every single illegal alien in the country. All of that being said, you can't have ICE. Because I'm a supporter of ICE, that means that I need to have accountability for ICE. Oh. And let me explain what I mean by that.
Oh.
If you have a police department...
ICE is not doing mass deportation in concentration camps the right way. Asmongold Klein. He's like, guys, what ICE needs to be doing is more abundance. You know, my problem with ICE is that they're not actually expedient and efficient in their concentration camp schemes. Oh, that's awesome. It's because I love ICE that I want them to do better. Look, I think it's consistent when he says he loves ICE, but then also says in the same breath that it's Gestapo because he's a Nazi. So I guess technically that is consistent. This is him just being like, listen, you need to ramp up the deportation machine, but you got to also like, you know, punish a couple of these agents if they get out of hand every now and then.
That's not accountable, or a law enforcement agency that's not accountable. That basically is the Gestapo. That is the secret police. That is the SS. So, and that was one of the big things that like, I think that really you had with, sorry, I once again, I lost my train of thought. Just a minute. What was I saying again? I totally lost it. I forgot totally what I was saying. Somebody said to me about Iran.
Yeah, good czar, bad boyars. Always. No, it's awesome. I've been using that a lot more frequently in my private affairs in general. I think about that quite a bit. It is definitely good czar, bad boyars all the way. Okay.
And I totally forgot. Anyway, God, I wish sometimes. Liberal SS. Yes. Okay. So basically, right. So what I'm saying is that this is another reason why I don't like to do debates. I just immediately forget what I'm saying in the middle of a conversation. And accountability. Yes, ICE is Gestapo. Exactly. Well, what Gestapo was, right, is you had no recourse. They had no accountability. There was nothing.
That's called due process. Asmongold, you were saying that it's good that we don't have due process. You were literally saying that. You and your fans were saying we should have due process. We should be rounded up and put in camps. You were literally advocating for that 5 minutes ago, you fucking moron.
That happened to them if they...
What? What are you saying? Like, that's not what was bad, or that wasn't the only reason why the Gestapo was bad. Also, he's straight up presenting it as though it's a good thing. I'm not sure even I'm not sure Asman fans will buy this. I don't know what they're buying lately. I don't know.
It's something wrong.
Yeah, the biggest problem with Gestapo is that they didn't follow the bureaucratic procedures. No, I think it was the kidnapping people. You know, I think that's, mass repression, kidnapping, torture, like all the stuff that ICE is doing that's bad. That's why we call ICE Gestapo.
They could kill you for whatever reason they wanted. And you have to have laws that make police accountable, because that's the other big component. Like, one of the good things that came out of BLM is the overwhelming adoption of body cams. I think that before that, you had a lot of body cams, but after that, body cams became the norm. So you need to have body cams for everything. And if you have these guys that, I don't know why Tim Walz said they weren't law enforcement officers. In my opinion, I think that's like, they need to invoke the Insurrection Act and bring in the military and stop this shit from happening. Because I told you guys last week, this is only a matter of time until this happens. Because there's going to be escalation. You can't have infinity. Like, let's say you have a 1% chance that a physical altercation with a federal officer turns violent. And then you have a 1% chance that that altercation that's violent turns fatal. Do you think that we've had more than 10,000, what do you call it? Like more than, it's 10,000. More than 10,000 of these altercations? Absolutely. So it's just a law of numbers, is that if you have this many altercations and this many things go wrong, then it's just a matter of time until somebody gets killed that it's unjustified for. Trump's a for not sending in troops 2 months ago. 2 weeks ago. I know. Trump is going to be Biden for having his brain fried for doing too many things domestically and internationally. Yeah, I think so too. Motive was found on his social media. He was retweeting Kill ICE Agent TikToks. That's fine, but I don't think that they shot him knowing what was on his TikTok page.
Anyone that comes out and does some fake, for the record, because I don't think they have.
Also, by the way, they just spread fake information about people that's completely unverified, made up by, of course, fascists, right? They just make shit up. Spammer? Oh, did we not ban a spammer? Okay, sorry, chat. Yeah. By the way, I'm on the air singing karaoke on Twitch. Wow, man, that's really gonna work. You got it, dude. That's gonna work. That's how you build a channel. You go into unrelated channels and you spam your name. Like, you understand how little effort people put in to the internet? Like, the fact that you don't even link to the channel. There is a zero. Even if you spammed your channel link in my chat, at most you would get like maybe 20 people to click it. Because why the fuck would they? Like, this bot shit doesn't even work. It doesn't even work. That's the funny thing about botting, is it's a self-licking popsicle. Because if you have to bot, your stream sucks. It's not gonna work. It doesn't grow. And then you have this huge albatross of payments you're making on any income you do get. The only time botting makes sense is when you're doing it as an intentionally criminal act to defraud sponsors. So basically where a sponsor is like, okay, well, we see your views. We'll pay you $5,000 if you maintain X amount of viewers. Well, then it makes sense to bot because you are literally committing fraud. Now, it's a crime, but you're probably not going to get caught. And nobody's really investigating people that are scamming advertisers. But that's literally the only time botting makes sense. I've heard getting off 0 viewers is the hardest part of starting streaming. I'm sorry, I was never me. I actually earned viewers before I ever tried to go out on my own. I had a group of 50 people that were interested in what I had to say before I ever started streaming. I didn't just stream into the void. So I don't, I'm sorry. I don't know what that's like.
Have his actual socials be like, oh, he retweeted Kill ICE TikTok, bull that I saw. I got tricked. So I guess it's appropriate to him. Is they need to be institutionalized, dude. You know how he always talks about like, we gotta bring back insane asylums. Like, yeah, your fans are going in there, okay? Except they're not, because they're all European. That's so annoying to me. We can't even punish these motherfuckers. They're LARPing all the way from Austria. It doesn't make any sense. Yeah. Guten Tag.
Like, I mean, realistically, like, I don't think this guy's a saint, right? Like, what? I don't think that this is some kind of like innocent guy that did.
Yes, he is. Shut up, bro. What do you mean? I don't think this guy's a saint. What more could he have done? Like, this is what I mean with this like wishy-washy bullshit. He's like, yeah, I don't think this guy's a saint. What is the problem? That he like opposes ICE?
Wrong. Like you should have not gone on there. You should have not been obstructing the police. You shouldn't have been touching the police. You shouldn't have gone up to it.
Bro, the police touched him, and it wasn't even the police. It's ICE. It's ICE. It's not. They're not cops. And also, they touched him. He didn't touch them. Shut the fuck up. He got pepper sprayed for trying to help someone that the ICE agent pushed to the ground. Did you see Phineas's new reel? I did not. Oh, Can't Ever Die says, right, we're going to see people caring about others in their community, and instead of finding that inspiring, they think it's some sort of grand conspiracy because they don't understand what it means to care for others you don't personally know. Yes. Bro literally did not watch the same video. He did. He just have to, he has to find stable ground. You have to stop being anti-Semitic. As a Jew, your Nazi Germany accent is so good it triggers my epigenetic memories, and I find that emotionally distressing. Therefore, you hate the Jews. Oh my God, that's going to be the new, that's going to be the new Ethan Klein post. He's going to come out and be like, Hassan is actually a little too good with this German accent. You need to check this timestamp and let it play for 1 minute.
I mean, they say this.
If Kamala
you need to check this timestamp. Let it play for 1 minute. He was desperate to defend the admin before it became undeniable, and he pivoted.
This is my favorite thing about the centrist, like Destiny and Hutch. If Kamala ends up winning, the entire far left, the Tommies, Tankies, the Hamas supporters need to be fucking jettisoned from the party. We don't need them to win elections. We can turn out our own base, and they are an absolute fucking cancer to be associated with. So this is what they were saying in October. And now they want to be like, if you didn't vote Kamala, you are the reason why the country is falling apart. You're to blame. Wait, I thought you didn't need us. And this is why centrist Democrats are basically just fascists with a different coat of paint, is that the enemy is both weak and strong. We denied Kamala Harris the victory, but we also don't matter, and they're not going to do anything to try to persuade us.
Real time? Oh, wait,
this is
really?
the gun. Am I crazy? Am I crazy for saying, like, that doesn't look like a gun to me?
Because it's not a gun and they're lying?
Like, if I zoom in, I don't know. How the f can anybody tell that's a gun for sure? How are people going off of this and being certain? How can you be certain off of this? Okay, keep watching. Okay, let's keep watching.
Ethan Klein said you made software for ICE. Yeah, that's right. That's why you should listen to me when I say, as someone who's a software engineer for ICE, that you should listen to my commentary about how bad ICE is for like the last 12 years. Wait, now the pivot happens? Let's see.
He does have the gun for sure. Absolutely 100%. That's the gun.
Oh.
Is that the same gun?
Oh,
that is the gun.
This is when he found out that the ICE agents actually disarmed him. So he was defending it up until this very moment. And then once it became undeniable that the ICE agents disarmed him.
So here it is. Give me the video you want me to look at. Oh, he says yes.
He was disarmed like 2 seconds before being shot. On both the videos you watched, you can see who disarmed him. Bring up the video and chat will tell you who to look at.
He says yes, this is the video. Let me see if we can get another version of it. Because like I really don't like I'm gonna be real, like I have no idea what, so give me 1 second. Let me see if I can find another image of this. Okay, so here it is. So the guy's hand is empty. His hand's empty again, okay.
Okay, so then so then he folds, he like changes his mentality.
Okay, keep watching. Okay, let's keep watching. That's the gun. 100% without a question. Absolutely. I just don't know if that's the gun. This is better quality? Okay. Let me see up.
You might not believe this, but he's been bleeding viewers to you. No, because I'm not being botted. So it doesn't work that way.
Okay, this is a higher quality version.
Please don't criticize him for switching to the obvious opinion after taking a closer look. Isn't that a good thing? I wish you guys were this charitable with me, man. That's so funny. I mean, this isn't charity. This is stupidity, for the record. He's going off of what his chat tells him, dumbass. He didn't look at that. If he came in hot looking at that and being like, yeah, based another guy who deserves it, only to turn around and be like last week, he literally said he wants this to happen. So why is this take so different now that it has happened? You know what I mean? I mean, here, look, how does this make you feel? Okay, how does this make you feel? Right here. This is after Renee Good.
We have not even gotten started. But trust me, this is, if it was up to me.
Everyone on Twitter thinks Asmon is woke now because of this dog shit Yoxix clip. Yeah, I know. I think that stuff is so annoying too.
This would only be the beginning. This is we just getting started. Because the thing is too, VP, yeah, exactly. Like we gotta do this more and more and more.
While you were in Minneapolis, he was botted with 20K more. He wasn't doing anything special. His number was up because your numbers were up. Yeah,
I mean, Asmongold just bots. He just bots himself to be larger than Hasan. Everybody knows, by the way, this is not a secret. First of all, everybody knows that most of the streamers at the Austin streamers of OTK were botting like crazy. This is an open secret in the streaming space. Nobody's confused. We know Miskiff botted. We know that Tectoad bots. We know Asmongold bots. We know that a bunch of Austin streamers were just botting the fuck out of their streams. And we're talking about like 20K bots. Emiru, listen, when every single one of your friends bots, it's pretty, get out. It is, and you never talk about it.
Isn't that wonderful though? That days when I have higher viewership, he then
I just don't know. Like, I don't like to speak about any specific creator unless I know for certain they're botting. I know for certain they're botting. Now, Emiru, I don't know. So that's why I don't bring them up or her up.
To have higher viewership as well. I think that's cool. Like, I'm happy for him that it's just an interesting coincidence, but I'm happy for him that he magically has like the perfect like 10K or maybe sometimes even almost exactly 20K more viewers. I'll have 35K, he'll have 55K or 45K. It's nice of me to do that for him. Rising tide lifts all boats. Yeah. I remember one time your stream F so bad you restarted, you dipped to 20, he dipped to 30.
Because there are whole different levels of this. There's reopening the mental asylums. There's rounding those people up and then putting them in.
Yesterday you had like 15K more viewers than him. Then suddenly it was even with yours. Then a minute later it was 10 to 15K more than yours. Yeah. It's just interesting that he just keeps exploding like that. Law, you sound a lot like Miskiv right now. I mean, Miskiv knows these motherfuckers way better than I do. I'm just pointing out how suspicious it is. A lot of these guys do bot, especially Tectone. We know Tectone was a major botter. And Tectone is Asmongold's best friend. This was right before Asmon did the pivot because he saw the writing on the wall.
Brain knows you should always comply with police, announce your weapon, and de-escalate all potentially dangerous situations, at least in my state. The guy intentionally gets in the way and involved in an escalating situation. Absolutely behavior from a concealed carrier. I think you're totally right. I do. I think you're completely right. I think this is absolutely to do. And at the end of the day, if he had complied with the police, if he didn't have the gun with him, like, there is a much higher probability that he wouldn't have been shot. There is. Like, it's undeniable this is the case.
Wait, what is this? 10 seconds later, I hit refresh and Asmon instantly jumped 20K viewers to match you, Law. Wait, what? At the No Kings rally in LA? Wait, what? Like, he went from 35K to 62K? I think this is probably altered. There's no way it jumped that much. That's exactly what happened yesterday. You got to.
Also, of course, you are here. You are a queen. What? Everybody knows Casey Tron is a Mike from PA head. Like, duh. And I'm a Casey Tron head. The thing is, I respect the greats. You know, this platform in large part blew up because of Casey Tron. And that's an undebatable point. There's other creators that we could say that are in that pantheon, but most of them are insane. And thank God they're no longer around. But Casey Tron is legitimately one of the greats. Casey, I sent you something I want to show you since you're here. Shut the fuck up, rest of you. Casey Tron is here. Have you seen this drag queen? She's LA based. So when next time you visit LA, we're gonna go see her. Because this is honestly one of the funniest new drag queens I've seen in years.
On the cross, our Savior said, Father, forgive them, for they not know what they do.
This is the
what do you want to
Charlie Kirk's wife drag show.
What do you want to say to the other people that are putting these lies out into the world right now? Stop. That's it. What do you want to say to the other people that are...
Fuck, she's so good. Erica Kirk is basically a drag queen. Like, it's amazing how much drag influences MAGA women. They're like, their makeup, their clothes. It's like you can't even satirize them anymore. You can't. Mike loves the most lived out entertainment. That's lived out. It's mocking Charlie Kirk's widow is lived out now.
Show me timestamps, chatter. Why are his VOD views so much lower comparably? Are they? I don't even know how to check that. I feel like you guys are making shit up now, you know? I don't know if that's the case. Are his VOD viewers much lower? Like yesterday, he had viewers, right? He had Yesterday's VOD, he had 700,000. That seems normal for like 70K. 700,000 viewers from his VOD yesterday. And then let's look at mine. Wait, what? Wait, that is kind of weird. I have double the number in my VODs. My VOD yesterday has...
Yes, because Asmongold is botting. Asmongold is fucking botting.
1.4 million views. His VOD yesterday, when he had more viewers than me, has 700,000 views. How is that possible? And then the day prior, 500,000 views. I have 683,000 views. 696,000 views 3 days ago. Wait a minute. Did we just discover something here? No, there's no way. How is he consistently... Maybe is it because I streamed longer? Is that what it is? It might be because I streamed longer. That could be the reason. Logs, check my logs. Let's see what this guy has to say. You have the same watch time. Check Sully Gnome. Watch time total is lower on Sully Gnome. It's because you stream longer. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's the reason. But like, I mean, look at the length of his streams, right? Like this is a 6 hour. No, this is a 7 hour and 23 minute broadcast 4 days ago. 7 hour and 23 minute broadcast 4 days ago. 7 hour and 11 minute broadcast 4 days ago. 775,000 views versus 774,000, or no, sorry, 674,000 views. Wait, what? How is this possible? I don't understand this at all. Why is his VOD numbers much lower? Does that mean that just like more people?
Why are Asmongold's VOD viewers so much lower than Hassan's, even though his stream is supposedly so much bigger? Because in reality, he's a 15K Andy max. That's the reality. How do I know? Because I tussle with him all the time. So I would say that fighting with Asmongold feels like there's probably about 15K authentic viewers. And I would say that no more than 5 to 8K of them are actually American. That's about the level of motion he has as far as like actual organic fans that you're fighting with. It's unsurprisingly incredibly low.
Watch my VODs or something? Is that what it is? Maybe that's what it is. But that is actually pretty surprising because if you like the higher concurrent viewership I have, the higher VOD viewership I have, right? That's usually how it works. I don't know. Maybe they watch them on YouTube. That's why. But that inconsistency is odd, especially considering that it doesn't matter. Like if you have more live concurrent viewership, that means you have more views in your VODs. It's crazy. According to Twitch support, is online and offline views. Yeah, there's anyway, whatever. It's fucking boring. All right, let's finish
And I
this.
feel like that nuance is constantly lost because you can easily come to the conclusion that maybe the way that they shot him was wrong. And based off of everything that I've seen, I'm pretty certain that this seems pretty cut and dry that they... Now, I'm not, we need to wait for the body cam, and that way we'll really know. But right now, it sure seems like... Let me watch this one now. Okay, here we go.
Wait, where's the other video where he like calls the guy R-worded and shit? Oh, right here.
Gary knows you should always comply with police, announce your weapon, and de-escalate all potentially dangerous situations, at least in my state. The guy intentionally gets in the way and involved in an escalating situation. I think you're completely right. I think this is absolutely...
I mean, I've been talking about this a lot, but this is something that right-wingers have been doing a lot lately, which is when somebody's brave and virtuous, they'll go, oh, and then they get victimized. They'll be like, oh my God, what a dumbass. I can't believe he put himself in harm's way, which I think is a way of telling on themselves that they're cowardly fucks. Like they're basically saying like, I would never risk my safety to help a woman on the street. I would never risk my safety in order to stand up for the rights of other people. And they act like being a cowardly little fearful rat fuck is some sort of thing that that is the default. And if you're somebody who goes above and beyond for the community or for others, you're a dope. That's the new right-wing moral system. And let me just tell you, there's a word for that. Cowardly cuck.
To do. And at the end of the day, if he had complied with the police, if he didn't have the gun with him, like there is a much higher probability that he wouldn't have been shot. There is. Like, it's undeniable this is the case.
So in other words, as long as you never exercise your rights, then nobody will infringe on them. See, you won't even know they're being infringed because you never exercise them. Because you're complying and you're on your knees like a cowardly fucking loser. Complied with what? Yeah, exactly. They didn't even say anything to the guy. He went to help a woman up that they had shoved down for no fucking reason. and then they gang tackled him.
And I feel like that nuance is constantly lost because you can easily come to the conclusion that maybe the way that they shot him was wrong. And based off of everything that I've seen, I'm pretty certain that this seems pretty cut and dried that now I'm not, we need to wait for the body cam and that way we'll really know. But right now it sure seems like, but it would have never happened if he didn't.
Hello, Austin's friend. I don't want to misunderstand you enough, so I hope this question doesn't come across as overbearing. Do you believe it's harmful to long-term purpose to celebrate the nominal pivot of Trump or Zachary? They're equally as powerful. I love you. First of all, no, they're not. And secondly, there is no Trump pivot.
You're back.
Trump is still Trump. Asmongold's pivot is also just pure grift. But as far as Trump's pivot goes, it's not an actual pivot. He's just backing away because he's responding to public pressure. Asmon continues trying to get approval from the admin, but once people start covering this type of content, plus 99% sure Holocaust happened shit, yeah. I mean, he also said like he's based. He's also said that Nick Fuentes is based. And I don't think you can get away with doing shit like that when you get more mainstream popularity. Yeah, he also defended Los Pollos' bad take. I said, woke is coming for you too, big guy. We're gonna make you take daily showers.
All right, chat, we are done with Asmongold shit. Asmongold quit. Tectoad is defeated. He's probably going to end up in prison. So we are officially done with that. Done with that. I hate you motherfuckers. The Democratic Party aligned themselves with fascism and censorship to silence dissent of y'all's actions in Gaza and are now shocked when it comes back to bite y'all. This is what the party wanted, you dipshits. I'm launching a review into whether TikTok is violating state law by censoring Trump critical content, but it was okay to censor Israel critical content. It was okay to do that. Chat was misbehaving while you were away. That's okay. I didn't see it. Don't be such a tattletale. Don't be such a tattletale. So the one thing I want to talk about is the centrist Democrats who basically fought.
Things have changed dramatically in terms of the vote. I mean, on Friday, we were saying in regards to those 7 Democrats who voted for the funding, and it's really, let's be clear, Hakeem Jeffries did not whip those people. Now, he may not have any control of what Jared Golden does because Jared Golden's retiring. Although,
make a point.
Well, I got to imagine if I had to bet, Jared Golden is not going to have a job that has nothing to do with Congress when he goes into the private sector.
No. He's like, the co-chair of the Blue Dogs, and he's a military guy, right?
Of course. This guy's not going to go like, you know what? I've always wanted to pursue painting, or I'm going to do some local, I'm going to do cabinetry work. I'm going to, one more year of my apprenticeship. No, I would bet you just about everything I own that Jared Golden is going to have some job where he is going to utilize his access to Congress. Lobbying, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And Hakeem Jeffries has the ability to make that very difficult. I mean, presumably he's going to be Speaker of the House come January, and they can make all sorts of rules about like, you know what, Jared Golden, we don't have enough credentials for you to come on the Hill. Whatever it is, there are ways.
Unfortunately, Sam, that doesn't work because once somebody is a member, they have permanent floor access. Sorry, unless that's just, unless we change the rule, that is actually a rule of the House. So, And
we should also say, like Rosa DeLorio from sits on the chair of the Appropriations Committee. There were ways in which to make the DHS funding more prominent rather than to roll it into the minibus. And we were saying on Friday, these people who are voting for this, it's as if they think that like they're voting on what ICE has done. And that's it. That's going to be end of story. As opposed to like, we're only a year out and we've seen what ICE has become in that year. Where do you think they're going to be in 10 months? This is just the beginning of this, folks. This is just the beginning of this. There's going to be more people they kill. I mean, the concentration camps they have set up, and we're going to play some footage of what's going on in like Texas and what's going on. I mean,
we have no idea how many people are dead in these camps. No idea.
I know people representing people in Berlin, New Hampshire, appropriately, where these are basically like semi-torture facilities because they have a lot of people who are within process. In other words, I am getting my green card, or I am being adjudicated for refugee status, or I...
Floor privileges is the phrase you were reaching for? Oh, is that... Didn't I say that? I said floor access. Yeah, same thing.
Asylum status, or I have been in an administrative process. In other words, they are here legally.
Good point.
They are not citizens, but they are here legally. They are within a legal process. And what happens is ICE picks them up, shoves them into these concentration camps. We'll play footage of some that's leaked out, subjects them to torturous conditions as a game of attrition, essentially. Let's play this number 16. A game of attrition so that they can get these people to say, you know what, I give up any rights I have to the process I'm already engaged in. What is it? No. I want the...
All right, chat.
Where's
Vio is here. Vio is here, and Vio has brought me a burrito. Breakfast burrito. Thank you, Vio. Mike, did you see Pretti died? Yeah, I mentioned it offhandedly. We didn't do a Pretti deep dive stream yet, or we didn't watch a bunch of his videos or anything. But I watched him so much. You know, I've watched him so much over the years. Maybe I should do something. Thank you, Vio. I don't like Johnny Harris, but this is a really good video. What ICE wants. Max Fisher and Johnny Harris. God, why is it so fucking long? Might have to watch this, though. Is Johnny Harris, is CIA Harris, he's done making videos about how bad China is.
Footage from inside the camp. We don't have that? Okay.
I
thought that was where people are sleeping on the...
This is an ICE agent admitting what you're saying about legal, picking up people who are in the process.
Okay, let's play this then. Okay.
Like, she's legal. Like, she has a war permit. Yeah, but that doesn't make her legal. So if anybody who has a pending application, they get a work permit, okay? Or pending court proceedings. Because of that, so our direction right now, I'll just kind of explain this to you. Our direction right now is to take any of those kind of people into custody so they can get through their court cases faster.
Okay, so he's claiming that we get their court cases faster. She's got her work permit. She is in pending process. They are bringing people in, and the guy says so they get their court cases faster. No, what it is, now let's play that footage of them lying on the floor in the facility. This is footage that has been leaked
22.
out. This is footage that is leaked out. And of course, it's very difficult to get this kind of footage.
It's in Baltimore.
This is in Baltimore, in the Baltimore field office. These are the conditions that people are living in. Now, in Berlin, New Hampshire, my understanding is they don't have blankets, but they put them in scrubs, and we're dealing with temperatures of like 10 degrees outside. If you don't put heat on in these facilities, you're talking about 30, 35 degrees. But play this footage. So now we know they're taking people who are in process. They have a work permit. They're waiting on a hearing, whatever it is. They put them in these type of facilities, essentially torture or abuse, wherever that line is. I don't think it makes a difference, frankly. And the idea is like, it's up to you. You really want to wait around for your court case? Because that may not come for a while.
All these streamers are just talking and talking. They let other people put their life in danger. Hassan physically flew to Minneapolis. I was at an organizing meeting for Ice Watch last, like 10 days ago. Are you saying that Samuel Cedar should be like, we should storm the Bastille on the ICE facilities?
Miren cómo nos tienen aquí. Miren qué migración cómo nos tienen. Y gente que estamos legal.
Iran watch. Oil is spiking a bit. The U.S. Armada is stationed in final position near Iran. Israel has confirmed readiness for an assault. The Pentagon pizza index is up 300%. I went to a DSA event because of you. Thank you, brother.
Gente que no estamos legales, gente que está perdiendo su familia, nos están secuestrando, nos tienen en un depósito aquí en Baltimore, nos tienen en la 31 Huskin. Baltimore.
Están golpeados, está en la cara.
Los golpearon a un señor.
Medicina, están golpeados, no han dado nada.
Ya no aguantamos, nos tienen aquí con más de 10 días sin bañarnos y aguantando hambre.
So that's what's going on here.
I can't translate all that. The last thing was about hunger.
All right. Well,
yeah, we'll have more to say in the other half.
The other half.
Yeah.
formerly Fun Half. But this is what's going on. So people should understand this is what's happening. And all right. Well,
was it? I mean, what did we? I can't remember if it's just like something I watched myself, or if we covered it on the show. Did we cover the story? Someone, a lawyer was saying how a mother had to suck the pasta off, or the pasta sauce off. Yes, of every PBS. Because they have no baby food. Suck because the child can't digest the pasta sauce. Suck all of the sauce, but with her mouth, off of pieces of pasta to feed to children.
Concentration camps, not metaphor.
Not
description.
No. Definitionally.
Lastly, let's just read this from Midwest Leftists. Here from Minnesota, if you're wanting to read this during the show so people get a sense of what the environment ICE is creating, we are white Midwestern. The violence is so egregious that the children are in no way shielded from our reality. Our 7-year-old son, knowing the dangers they pose, came home and told us, if ICE comes to my school, I will protect my cousin, 5 years old, because she has more life to live. Our neighbor hasn't sent their 5-year-old to school for 2 weeks because they're terrified of their child being taken at the bus stop. My partner works for the school district, and ICE is scoping out all the bus stops to take kids for bait. My partner's coworker was also disappeared overnight, now leaving his wife as the sole provider for 2 daughters, one of them requiring brain surgery as she suffers from seizures, which was the main reason they came to the United States. He was shipped to Texas in less than 24 hours. Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.
The abuse and the concentration camps. Well, you know what we're going to do to these ICE agents, right? Prosecute ICE has to be the bare minimum. I would have put thousands of these ICE agents in prison. Every ICE agent who has violated anybody's rights, from something as small as smashing a car window all the way up to the torturers in these camps, they should be in prison. And I want you to know something, chat. Trump is starting to retreat. The approval rating is starting to scare the Republicans.
The Trump administration is changing who's in charge of the ongoing immigration crackdown. So is this a sign that the president is backing down? Today, Border Patrol Commander-at-Large Greg Bavino, he's seen here in this archive video throwing a gas canister at protesters last week. He's going to be leaving town. He's expected to take some of the 3,000 federal agents in the city along with him. The White House says Border Czar Tom Homan will take over the operation. For protesters on the ground, Bavino's exit is only a first step.
Good riddance. Couldn't have came sooner. And but I mean, that doesn't mean everything stops, right? We can't take back what happened before, but we're still living in trauma from Renee and countless other people, right? But now we have this, that he came to our community and caused all this damage. It doesn't just go away because he leaves, and then who comes next and what happens next?
Joining me now in the group chat,
They're going to put it home
CNN
next.
Political analyst and national political reporter at Axios, Audrey Falberg, National Review politics reporter, and Chuck Rocha, Democratic strategist and former senior advisor to the Bernie Sanders presidential campaigns. Alex, can I start with you? Because we got some signals from the White House, the president.
Honestly, if they go to Philly, I think some ICE agents are going to get shot. That's what I'm worried about. You know, when I think about Philadelphia, I peepo smile. Love that town. And I wouldn't want to see violence on the streets. You know, the far left DA, Larry Krasner, has reduced the homicide rate by 50%. I don't want to see ICE agents going into Philadelphia and raising the homicide rate by dying. I don't want to see a blotch on Larry Krasner's record of reductions of homicides. I know that ICE agents have done 70% of the homicides in Minnesota or Minneapolis since the year started. So I don't want to see the record of Larry Krasner stained with the blood of dead ICE agents. That would be terrible. So I worry if they go to Philadelphia, some of them are going to die. And that would be, you know, I don't want anyone to die on the street. That would be terrible.
Said he had a conversation with Governor Walz, I believe, that there's some dialogue there. But what do you think made the administration finally rethink how it was talking about the death of Alex Pretti and the ICE tactics overall?
Well, because for the first time in probably at least a decade,
politics of immigration are no longer on Trump's side. He always felt that this was his strongest issue, and every poll showed that was the case. With the increase, and this is not just about Alex Pretti, this is about increasingly over the course of the last year, voters have increasingly soured on the way that Trump has
We have
done
some
immigration
polling about this. The New York Times Siena poll, how ICE is handling its job. The number I always look at, independents, 70% disapprove. And this was January 12th. So this was even before this second shooting.
And they know that, and they sense it. And so Trump is now frantically, you also have a looming government shutdown that will happen, or at least partial government shutdown that could happen as soon as this weekend, unless they can pass some of the DHS bills. And you need Democratic votes to do that. So the Trump administration is now trying to do all these things via executive actions to try to placate some Democrats. But Democrats so far.
The amazing thing about the Democrats is they're like, yeah, it may be fascist, but I wouldn't want the economy to not grow this quarter. Sure, Trump may be doing a fascist takeover of a major American city, but you can imagine if we disrupted Wall Street? Don't get crazy now.
Barr have said they're not going to go along with it.
Now, I had seen the Wall Street Journal editorial board. You had seen other people sort of come out and say, hey, I think this is backfiring. Is the president hearing it? But the thing that stuck out to me was Chris Medell. He's a former candidate for Minnesota governor. I say former because he has just decided to drop out from the race. And to give people some context, this is the guy who apparently was a lawyer representing the ICE agent who shot Renee Good. So think about that. Very high profile, and he thought he was going to then run for office. Instead, he released this statement on Monday.
I support the beginning of Operation Metro Surge, the idea of getting rid of the worst, and they did some of that. But it has gone so far beyond that goal that it just got to a point where I just literally cannot support that. I can't look my daughters in the eye and say, yeah, I'm doing the right thing by continuing this campaign, by being a member of this effort.
There's political ramifications all across the board here, but there's also real-life ramifications. The reason what you're seeing from the White House is because you can say a lot about Donald Trump, and I disagree with a lot of things with Republicans and what they do, but he is politically astute, and he understands when poll numbers start sinking around an issue that's very direct. And this is, to Alex's point, if you looked at those independent numbers prior to the election, they were upside down when you asked him if they should be deporting criminals or people that were doing bad things. 70% of independents would have bid for that. But to Alex's point, it's the way that they've implemented that. We're not talking about the border being closed. We're not talking about actually bad people that's been deported. We're talking about what we're seeing in the street with American citizens dying, and that's his problem.
But I think this is also putting into stark relief are the very real and long existing tensions within the administration about how this deportation strategy is taking place. So we have people like Noam Corey Lewandowski.
Well, I mean, basically what's happening is there's a bunch of fascists in the administration who want to change the future demographics of America. Right? They don't want America to be less white. Now, what the fuck does white mean? What the fuck does white mean? Well, white means, what was that Majority Report link? I mean, I don't have it anymore. White is whatever they subjectively say it is. It doesn't have a coherent definition. It doesn't need to. So it's just whatever they kind of, everybody has their own sense of what white is. Now, for me, if you're Polish, if you're Greek, if I've been to southern Italy and southern Spain. White is a very loose term, okay? I've met men from Greece that look a hell of a lot Middle Eastern than people I've met from fucking Syria, all right? Or Lebanon. Whiteness is fucking arbitrary. They make it up. And it expands as much as it needs to for the political purposes of the rich in America. I mean, hell, Benjamin Franklin said that Germans and Scandinavians weren't white. No one is talking about how they don't go for undocumented Europeans. Honestly, they are, though. They've gone after undocumented Canadians. Hell, they've gone after documented Canadians. They're just grabbing as many people as they can to fill a quota. Now, the structure, the goal of it from the federal level is to make America more white by bending the curve of the population. And that is in conflict with the interests of America as a superpower. The capitalists in America do not care if you're a Mexican, okay? They just want you to do a job for low wages and be a consumer. And power grows from population. It's not sufficient in and of itself to have a large population to become powerful, but it is necessary. To truly become powerful, you must have a large population. So they are really breaking the back of the American power of the 21st century.
Stephen Miller, who want deportations up as much as possible for their own sake. Then we have people like Tom Homan, who is seen by Republicans as more of the adult in the room. You know, he's controversial among Democrats, of course.
We heard folks at Fox repeatedly saying, you know who you should send in? Tom Homan.
Right,
And then pretty shortly after Tom Homan was going in.
Proof that the president definitely watches a lot of Fox News.
Yeah.
But he is, you know, proponent of more of this worst first kind of, you know, focusing on illegal aliens with a criminal background. But I think, you know, another thing, there's a tragic, you know, fatal shooting in and of itself, and there's the administration's response to it. And Noam and Stephen Miller accusing Pretti of domestic terrorism was obviously not the right course here.
Well, you saw, like, this last weekend, it was the Stephen Miller, Kristi Noem response
Yeah.
to this, because that is how they responded to every controversy over the last year. And what's so striking is that this is the administration overruling, in some ways, Kristi Noem and Stephen Miller, which they have not done so far this term.
And I heard that there was a meeting with Noem and Trump at the White House.
And Lewandowski.
But not Miller?
On my understanding, I'm not sure. I'm sure. Yeah. Somewhat involved. I know that those two were in.
President Trump says he and Minnesota Governor Tim Walz are, quote, on the same wavelength after a call on Monday. They spoke for the first time since federal immigration agents shot and killed 2 U.S. citizens in Minneapolis. Walz says he told Trump he needs to reduce the number of federal agents in his state, and he said he felt a definite change in tone.
We've laid out the case that we do the right thing. We don't want criminals here.
Have you noticed that the right on Twitter has taken to disparaging nursing as a profession? That's all they have. The right is imploding. When you're attacking nursing, you've lost the fucking plot.
But we also recognize that someone coming here to find a better life should be treated with dignity, that Americans shouldn't be fearing for their lives to go out of their house just because of the color of their skin. And the atrocities we're seeing, and I think Donald Trump understands it too.
Group chat is back. I want to talk about this tonal shift for both of them. First, I think for the longest time I have heard this argument over the last couple of days, especially from conservative and right-wing voices that say basically there was a far-left organization that kind of put Pretti in harm's way and turned him into a martyr, that this is all part of a strategy. Can I come to you? Sort of, are you seeing this as well? And is that starting to fall apart under public scrutiny?
I think it is. And I think the important thing to remember here is when a tragic situation like this happens, our government officials are supposed to tone down the temperature, say this is a tragedy, and we're going to investigate the matter. That's not really what we saw from people like Noam and Miller, who again accused him of being a domestic terrorist. I think if he had withdrawn his weapon, he did have a concealed carry permit. If he had withdrawn his weapon and tried to shoot somebody, that would have been a different situation. But that wasn't the case here. He was filming a law enforcement operation.
And they sort of stepped on a rake going after his gun rights. It felt like you had some voices saying, the criminal intent is having a gun, and then your own party is then not going to love that.
The pro-Second Amendment party was now saying that, well, just by having a gun around law enforcement, you are therefore a threat. They also completely misrepresented what happened. And if we
sorry about the F. Did I have an F? What happened? I don't see any F. Did I lose some frames?
That had cell phone
video
happens, from lots of different angles. They like the government's word would have been perhaps the last word, so by them misrepresenting it, and then we still haven't even seen the body cam footage from many of the officers too, which could actually make this a bigger crisis for the administration.
In a statement, Governor Tim Walz's office, they said the president also agreed to look into reducing the number of.
Well, I think it's very funny to be like, if you bring a gun to a protest, you are inherently a criminal, and then I've spent the last 5 years celebrating Kyle Rittenhouse, right? And the difference between Kyle Rittenhouse and Alex is that Alex never took his gun out. Nobody knew about the gun until they tackled him to the fucking ground and started beating his ass. Kyle Rittenhouse is running an open carrying an AR-15 and was shooting people. And they're like, oh, based. And this is one of those things that is always funny to see, that Republicans, as I've said for a long time, they don't believe in anything. Fascists don't believe in anything. Kyle Rittenhouse. I think Kyle Rittenhouse actually came out and made a statement that was pro-Second Amendment, right? How long until he gets bullied out of that position? Did Teo put out a good post compiling a list of times right-wingers brought firearms to protests? Please bring me the link. Thank you.
Federal agents in Minnesota and working with the state in more coordinated fashion.
They believe in one thing, power. Yes. The best way to deal with the right wing is to crush them. Everything the right complains about you doing to them, you should do to them more. Cancel culture They shouldn't even be allowed to say anything. Crush it. Re-education, or what is more, we should absolutely be educating people about the rights that American citizens have. We should absolutely be educating people about why racism is wrong. Interfere with their fascist fucking religion scams? Absolutely. Ban crypto? Abso-fucking-lutely. We should go and we should target every single source of power of the right wing, and we should dismantle it. Sorry, here you go, Unc. Sorry, it's an Insta post. I don't mind. Cal Rittenhouse shot and killed 2 protesters. Gun-toting St. Louis couple. Father and son's armed confrontation with federal officials. Oh, the Cliven Bundy guys. They were grazing their cattle on federal land illegally. Armed protesters breached Michigan State Capitol. Oh yeah. Armed militia gathered around the Georgia State Capitol. Trump voters headed to vote counting centers in Maricopa County, Arizona, as if they were headed into battle. Tactical gear from head to toe. And of course, January 6th.
On immigration enforcement and regarding violent criminals. There are some people.
Kristi Noem is a lying liar.
And I don't know of any peaceful protester that shows up with a gun and ammunition rather than a sign. And I don't know of any peaceful protester that shows up with a gun and ammunition rather than a sign. And I don't know of any peaceful protester that shows up with a gun and ammunition rather than a sign. And I don't know of any peaceful.
I mean, like, obviously, right? Like, obviously. Obviously.
We're going to see that statement and say, look, if Tim Walz had cooperated in the first place, maybe none of this would happen.
I don't think any amount of cooperation would have stopped this administration or the Republicans for trying to get the visual what they want, which is them trying to be tough and quote unquote deporting bad criminals. And absolutely any bad criminal who done something bad should be deported. But this is not what they did. And let's be clear that there's
I don't even think you need to do that stupid fucking pre-buttal. I actually think it's far better to not do the pre-buttal and then have the right winger waste their time going, don't you think criminals should be deported? And then you'd be like, yes, so does everyone. Shut the fuck up and then move on. I think the pre-buttal actually makes you weaker. You should always be on the, sometimes it's good to anticipate an argument the opponent's going to make and head it off, especially if you think it's very good and strong. But I don't think that's what people are talking about, right? That's not what people are talking about. You are kind of like taking the motion out of your point, and you're bringing up something that the right wants you to be thinking about, which is that immigrant equals criminal. And I think that that is a bad way of arguing, especially in this climate.
Consequences to what they're saying. I was on the phone all weekend. We were all snowed in. Lots of group chats going on in my actual group chats with Latino leaders around the country. And there's folks traumatized. This left-wing stuff is not about left-wing stuff. This is about folks that are out there, that are Democrats or progressives, that are just fighting for regular folks and U.S. citizens that are getting killed. That's bringing real trauma to a group of people on the ground there that aren't trying to fight their government. They're just wanting to live and not be attacked by their government.
But does this mean they're in your group chats because they're like, how can we be more politically active? Because a lot of people looked to Latino voters and said, look, you are the reason that Trump is in office.
Right. And a lot of that this weekend was about how do we take what power we have, like when Latino senators, Latino electeds, or folks on TV talking about the trauma that's going on the ground right now with folks that are just trying to abide by the law.
I have one more thing. Just sorry, I have to play this. It's the Oklahoma governor, Kevin Stitt. He has publicly questioned the direction of this. And this is a very succinct statement that's sort of saying the loud part out loud. Here he is with Dan Abash.
But now Americans are asking themselves, what is the end game? What is the solution? And, you know, we believe in federalism and state rights, and nobody likes feds coming into their... and so what's the goal right now? Is it to deport every single non-U.S. citizen? I don't think that's what Americans want.
Oklahoma.
I mean, it is extraordinary what you are seeing in terms of the rhetoric on both sides here. For the first time in many years, Democrats actually want to talk about immigration, and they actually feel that.
Yes, they want to talk about it because regular fucking people went out on the streets and fought back while the feckless Democrats were thanking ICE. Once again, the grassroots knows what the fuck they're talking about. And of course, by the way, electing Zohran Mamdani. How is that working out for us? Everybody who is a Zohran Mamdani doubter, everybody who's like, I can't believe you're doing electoralism. How's that working out for the left? Does the left look better with Zohran in office, or does it look worse? Do you think it would look better if we didn't have Zohran saying abolish ICE right now? Do you think it would be better if we didn't have Zoran going out there and then like plowing streets really well and everybody being super happy with how he's doing his job? Do you think it would be better off, you know, watching Zoran Mamdani get free childcare for millions of kids? Do you think the left would be better off if those millions of kids' parents could not afford childcare? Serious question. I want a serious fucking answer from all the people who are shitting on Zoran and saying how it was a waste of time and he was selling out. The reality is that, lo and behold, it's actually good to win. I think the guy is saying the Dems are now talking about immigration because Trump has forced them to confront the issue. I think he's a fucking idiot. No, the point is that the reason why things have turned around in immigration is because the Democrats are no longer controlling the conversation. Regular people are. We are. The left is. And they fucking hate it. They hate the right wing.
They have the political advantage by talking about it. That has not happened perhaps since 2015, 2016, in a way that most of the party does. And the fact that you have a Republican of Oklahoma saying, actually, the policy is not to deport every person that's here illegally.
Which is a surprise to me.
I mean, but I think that shows because, and this is what people have always been saying, is that could never be the policy because you would have inevitably some of these images.
You should tell Stephen Miller, he's the one who said that they wanted to take away the rights of folks that were going through the processes right now.
Or birthright citizenship.
That's the birthright citizenship piece.
But I want to acknowledge all of the sort of conservative publications that were waving their arms in the air and saying, this isn't working. Like you went to make an example of Minnesota and you ended up making an example of yourself.
And losing
And I want you to understand something, chat. This is a very important point that I want you to understand, is that Minnesota has disproved everything that Asmongold believes. You have a diverse community of people from Somalia. You have people whose ancestors are fucking from Norway. You have Hispanic population. You have black population. You have immigrant population. And guess what's happened? People are coming together and they don't even know their neighbors, but everyone's putting on a fucking whistle. Everybody's putting on a fucking whistle. Everybody's rushing to help their neighbors. They're bringing them food. If they know of an immigrant neighbor who's scared to go out to the grocery store, neighbors are bringing them groceries that they pay for. School teachers are locking arms and blocking ICE from going into schools to protect children. There are so many stories I want to share with you. So many stories I want to share with you about this. This is my anti-ICE whistle. This is my whistle. I carry this. I wear this every day. So if I'm out and about and I see ICE, I fucking let them have it. This is the reality. And so people are coming together, diverse people, different race, different religion, different background, different socioeconomic status. You have wealthy people, upper middle class people from the suburbs, white people coming into the inner city and defending their immigrant neighbors. Americans from all walks of life are joining together to stand up to ICE, to monitor ICE, to protect their families, protect their communities. And they're doing it for no personal gain, but because they believe it's right. That disproves everything that Asmongold believes. That disproves everything right-wingers believe about diversity resulting in lower trust. These people in Minnesota are showing you that we can live in a pluralistic society. We can care about each other, even across difference. We aren't just exposing the futility of ICE policies. We are disproving the entire conservative argument. The whistle should be banned. Megyn Kelly, suck my fucking dick from the back.
Get back!
That's it? That's it? They don't do these with protested climate or LGBTQ rights. These sudden impulsive noises trigger the accusative startle response. It's a rapid involuntary reaction mediated by the brainstem involving muscle tension, elevated heart rate, and adrenaline release. That repetitive exposure from the fatigues neural pathways, but sustains heightened arousal, diverting cognitive resources from higher order tasks to basic threat monitoring. It's an acute stressor, activating the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis and sympathetic nervous system, which releases cortisol and adrenaline. Long exposure to this stuff impairs prefrontal cortex function, critical for decision making, rooted in documented physiological responses to noise. In layman's terms, they're putting these officers on edge and triggering them to act. Pretti and good was exactly what they wanted. It's usually someone else who ends up dying and not the instigator. These events aren't random. They are organized tactics. 80% of people protesting aren't aware that they're being used by their own team as cannon fodder to generate outrage. We have defeated them with the whistle. Sure, they have $180 billion of our tax dollars, but the simple 5-cent whistle has defeated them. All right, chat, let's watch the new CIA Harris video on ICE. This actually seems like it might be decent. It might actually be decent.
We've gotten used to scenes like this. Federal agents showing up in the streets, kitted out, no badge, no ID, wearing masks. They usually turn out to be either Border Patrol or Immigration and Customs Enforcement, known as ICE. Scenes like this seem to be everywhere lately. Often, they turn violent.
Oh, before we go on, I just wanted to highlight this, chat. Before we watch the video, I just want to get this in real quick. Destiny has said, quick daily reminder that Ethan from H3H3 is likely a pedophile who has molested his own children. I want you to understand that we all understand. Okay, I want you to understand that Destiny is accusing Ethan Klein of molesting his children. Now, this is prima facie defamation. Saying someone is a pedophile, let alone saying someone molests their children, is the basically the law school textbook defamation. And you don't even have to prove damages for this kind of defamation. This is just considered so damaging in and of itself that you could sue people. Now, he's suing Denims, he's suing Casey Tron, he's suing Krogan off of made up frivolous bullshit where he's not even in the right. And he lets Destiny call him a pedophile with apparently no complaint and no lawsuit. Now, I reached out to AB. Because AB is a mutual of mine. You may know him as Absent Backbone. And his wife is also Lena, also known as Poop Cleana. And I asked him, hey, can I get a comment on Destiny saying your boss molests his children? Will he be suing him? And he read the message. And he declined the comment. So I just wanted everybody to know that I did reach out to AB because he's my best connection to the H3 podcast because he's a mutual of mine. And they refused comment. My DMs are still open, AB. So if you would like to comment on the fact that Destiny is calling your boss a pedophile who molests his children, I would like to hear that. By the way, chat, here is the let me just do a quick screenshot showing you that I did message him at 6:09 p.m. my time yesterday. And he did read it. Hey, can I get a comment on Destiny saying your boss molests his children? Will he be suing him? Your refusal to comment will be noted. So there is no reply. There was no reply. So feel free to ask AB about whether Ethan Klein is aware that Destiny is calling him a pedophile and if there's planned to be any lawsuit, because we know that Ethan Klein likes to sue people. So it is weird to not sue Destiny for calling him a pedophile who molests his children. What's really weird about this is Destiny has been attacking people for saying they're responsible for people calling CPS. But then Destiny says that Ethan Klein molests his children. If Destiny believes that Ethan Klein molests his children, but he doesn't think they should call CPS, is he in favor of it? I'm confused. That doesn't seem to make any sense. And like in American defamation law, truth is the ultimate defense. But the thing about this is like, so it makes you think like maybe there's something to it, but if there is something to it, Destiny is exposing them to criminal prosecution, right? Like, I don't get it. Now, personally, I have no reason to believe that any of this is true. And I know that, I don't like Ethan Klein, but I wouldn't call him a pedophile who molests his own children. That's crazy. That's fucking crazy. I just think he's a piece of shit Zionist and it's kind of gross. So anyway, I'm looking forward to hearing back from AB. And if you do see AB, feel free to ask him yourself. I'm just trying to get a statement from the H3 I'm just trying to get a statement from the H3 podcast. Destiny being accused of being a pedophile who molests his children by Destiny. Anyway, we can move on now.
This is not what we are used to police looking like. We think of cops as having to tell us who they are, who they're with, no matter what. That's one of the main things we know about them.
The FBI.
FBI.
I'm a police officer.
Which makes this sudden rise of unmarked vans and masked guys who won't identify themselves feel very strange.
Very strange, guys. It's very strange.
Agents wearing masks.
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 Masking their identities.
Manhattan elected officials.
Leftovers H3 sub just calls him Abdullah because he's scared of uttering his actual Arabic name. Oh, that's so sad. Jesus Christ, man. That's so fucking sad.
Officials are going to unveil new legislation to stop ICE agents from wearing masks to conceal their identities. Identify themselves.
To identify themselves.
Is that the issue here, that we're just upset about the masks?
Why? Why is this happening? Why does ICE wear masks? I spent a long time looking into this. I dug into court filings, budget documents, police reports. I tracked what the government is saying and what they're leaving out. I watched hundreds of citizen videos of ICE operations to map trends in what ICE agents are doing out there and how they are using masks to do it. And then I saw this video. That's from ICE killing a local mom in Minneapolis in her car. And it's made this question, why masks, even more important. Because this incident is just the tip of the iceberg. And I have come to really believe that if you want to understand why ICE acts like this, what their end game is, the key to it all is to answer why they look like this.
I gotta be honest, chat, like, I don't know if it's because I'm an arrogant asshole or what, but when people talk like this, baby, like this is like baby talk to me. Like, doesn't it sound like baby talk? Why do they look like this? It's like you're not, it's like, how naive are you supposed to like play this? Like, libs love the thing where they're a little swaddled baby who doesn't understand anything and feed them their baba and change their diaper.
Question we want to end up with answering. What is ICE masking for? What is the end game? How do masks fit into it? But to get there, first we need to answer why Trump and the people around him want a mass police force, which is not something we've ever had before, which means digging into ICE's case for masks, their evidence, their data, what's true, what isn't, and what it leads out. But all of this makes more sense if you first take a step back and also see this as the culmination of a years-long tug of war between police and citizens over what happens when they come into contact. Let me show you what I mean. We've all seen videos like this. A police officer gets a little overheated with someone or tries to cut corners in a traffic stop. These go viral because we all understand that cops have a lot of power. And, you know, they should. They need that to do their jobs. But it's also possible for them to abuse or misuse that power. And this is why we have rules for balancing between the rights of police on the one hand and citizens on the other. Police, for their part, have the power to use force. They can arrest you, and they can fine you. And we all basically accept this. I mean, someone has to keep order, and they need those powers to do it. They're the arm of the law, right? So what protects you from one misusing his or her powers against you? Then they can do whatever they want, right? But citizens have protections too. For one, the law applies to cops. If Officer Steve smashes your face with a billy club because he doesn't like you, you can bring assault charges, criminal liability, or you can sue him for damages in civil court. Failing that, one of the biggest checks on—
By the way, none of this is true. Not one of these things are true. The far-right Supreme Court has basically made federal lawsuits against police for violating your rights to be almost impossible to truly prosecute. What usually happens is that local politicians will settle because the case makes them look bad. But if you try to sue the police officer themselves, they're personally immune. So you might be able to get some sort of settlement from the city or state, but the police officer pays no consequences. Criminal liability? Criminal liability? That is so fucking rare, it's beyond belief. It barely happens in America when a police officer is actually put into jail because they violated a citizen's rights.
Police abuse has always been simply calling attention to it. Like, go back to that video of a Boston PD getting grabby with someone. Watch what happens when he realizes someone else is filming.
Good, you got it, good. Back up. Back the up.
Notoriety can be a powerful deterrent. No one wants to risk losing their job or getting recognized at the grocery store for the wrong reason. But in recent years, citizens' protections against police have been gradually eroded away. Like, take the law saying it's a crime for a police officer to violate your rights. This goes back to the end of the Civil War, when Congress made police abuse a crime alongside abolishing slavery. That's how big of a deal this was. But they included a giant loophole. It's the federal government who enforces this law, which means that if it's the government who wanted that cop to violate your rights in the first place, there is no crime. More recently,
this is very Atriot coded. They treat their viewers like children. They don't think their viewers can understand more complicated concepts. It's kind of pathetic. Well, I mean, okay. When you're trying to learn about stuff, you want to be able to learn in a judgment-free zone. I don't know about you, but when I'm new to something, I tell people I am a complete novice. I suck at this. I don't know what I'm talking about. Please educate me. And I come to that from the position of humility, right? And I'm willing to take some bumps and bruises because I value knowledge. But for a lot of people, you have to have ego assuagement. You have to wrap them in gauze. And you have to make the act of being wrong lack any kind of shame, or otherwise they will freak the fuck out. I don't understand it. I think it's mentally weak, but it is what it is. So if you are making content and you want people to stick around, which is if your primary goal is views, then you're gonna talk like they're 5.
The Supreme Court opened another big loophole. They said,
it's just pandering to the normie audience. 97% of people have an IQ below 130. I have a 130 and I'm just barely smart enough to know how dumb I actually am. Is that true? It's gonna keep going. I'm not gonna talk about that.
Even if a cop,
I'm not gonna. I mean, yes, that makes sense. Standard deviations, standard curve, 130. I mean, that makes sense. That makes sense. Assuming it's normed around 100. IQ is a pseudoscience. I would say that it is got minimal. It has some, but not very important predictive. I would say IQ is complete pseudoscience, but I would also say it's not. It's massively overplayed. It's massively overplayed. In fact, somebody talking about their IQ is kind of a red flag.
Violates your rights, it's only illegal if other cops would consider what that cop did to be obviously excessive. This is a way cushier standard than the rest of us are judged by. It's like saying a used car salesman can only be convicted of lying if other used car salesmen would call him too dishonest.
Hi there! How you doing?
Ever since then, it's become so hard to convict a cop of breaking this law that district attorneys often won't even try. This was part of what led to the Black Lives Matter protests. Even when cops were caught on film killing someone without any apparent cause, nothing happened.
Ohio police officer Connor Grubb was acquitted of 6 charges stemming from the deadly shooting of a pregnant woman.
Which means, in that balance between cops and citizens, criminal liability isn't completely gone, but it might as well be. But that does leave civil liability, suing, which has been around since the founders. And the Supreme Court formalized this right in the 70s with a ruling that said if federal police agencies violate your rights without good reason, you can sue the individual officers. The idea being if Officer Steve smashes your car.
Okay, you know what, chat? I think I get what the video's doing. They're going through all the lib objections and showing why they're wrong. They're showing you why all the lib objections are actually no longer real. And they're doing it from a baby, kind of like explain it like I'm 5 method. You know what? That's fine by me.
Windows for fun or tases you because he doesn't like your politics, you can at least make him pay you damages, like as a deterrent. And this held for a long time, this balance. Until very recently, and you may have missed this, the Supreme Court blew it up.
A recent ruling by the Supreme Court is drawing criticism tonight as it effectively grants immunity in certain cases to federal law enforcement who violate the Constitution.
It started with a Border Patrol agent in Washington roughing up a local guy he suspected of wrongdoing. When the local guy filed a complaint, that agent got the DMV to review the guy's driver's license and the IRS to audit his taxes. So the guy sued. Rogue cop abusing his power to pursue a personal vendetta, right? Seems straightforward. But the Supreme Court took that case up and in 2022 said, actually, we changed our minds on this whole suing cops who violate your rights things, especially if those cops police the border. They even said, we basically think this right should never have existed in the first place. So they mostly killed it. And what all this means is now, as a result of that ruling, if a federal law enforcement officer decides to crack your collarbone or, and this is a real thing that Border Patrol did recently, shoot your dog unprovoked, there's not a lot you can do about it except to show the world what they did. You name and shame the officer, you put pressure on his bosses, and maybe that's a kind of accountability. This is perfectly legal. In fact, the law says cops have to always identify themselves, including ICE and Border Patrol. Even during a violent civil disturbance, they have to give their name, badge number, and agency. The only exception to this rule is undercover cops, and even they have to unmask when the operation is over. This is why experts say ICE is the first agency in American history to mask like this. You might be thinking, but haven't I seen SWAT teams wearing face protection or cops in gas masks? And yeah, you probably have, but here's the difference. Those cops still identify themselves. Name, badge, agency. ICE agents, as a part of masking, also conceal their names, their badge numbers, and their agency, which, remember, is illegal. Which means if an ICE agent violates your rights, breaks your ribs, locks you up without justification, grabs your grandmother off the street because he thinks she looks foreign, what can you do? You already can't press charges, you can't sue. Your last option was to name and shame. Unless now you can't because that agent is wearing a mask.
People are out there taking photos of the names, their faces, and posting them online with death threats.
This is Todd Lyons, the guy who runs ICE.
So I'm sorry if people are offended by them wearing masks, but I'm not going to let my officers and agents go out there and put their lives on the line and their family on the line because people don't like what immigration enforcement is.
This is the Trump administration's case for masks. It's to prevent people from broadcasting agents' identities. But let's dig into this. We're going to look at their evidence, and we're also going to look at why they say they're so opposed to letting ICE agents get identified. They're even pushing to make that a crime.
I would also want, elected officials to help us hold those people accountable that do dox or threat an ICE officer.
They're saying, look, this last protection against police abuse might be the law. It just creates too great a risk for our officers. This is Tom Homan, the White House official who oversees ICE.
These men and women put a gun on their hip and wear a Kevlar vest to go on the streets every day, look for the worst of the worst, makes this country safer. Them wearing a mask, if that protects them and protects their families, then that has to be done.
What is the threat to ICE so extreme that they have to do this mask thing no other law enforcement agency has ever done? That means we have to sacrifice our rights to protect them. The first answer that officials typically give is to say that it's because attacks on ICE are up by 1,000%.
The violence against our law enforcement officers has gone up 1,000%.
As of September, assaults increased over 1,000%.
Over 1,000% assaults on officers right now.
That sounds bad until you see assaults went from 11 to 121. And is that a lot? Well, compare it to, say, the NYPD, whose officers reported 1,000 assaults over the same period. Even park rangers face more assaults than ICE, even though the Park Service is much smaller. Look at it this way. 121 assaults against 20,000 ICE agents makes being an ICE safer than just about any law enforcement job. And that ICE number looks even smaller when you see how often they jump people without identifying themselves. And when you look into those 121 reported assaults, often what you find is something very different than what the agency claims. Like this DC woman who was charged with felony assault while filming ICE until security footage showed it was actually the agents who had attacked her. Or this reporter who ICE arrested in Chicago for supposedly attacking them, only to release her when it came out that they had just grabbed her for asking too many questions. ICE also tried to blame her for its agents crashing their car, but it came out she was already in cuffs when it happened. There was also this man who was killed by ICE in Chicago.
A blood-stained car marking a deadly flashpoint in America's immigration raids.
The agents claimed that he attacked them with his car, but footage showed that the agents actually shot him unprovoked while he backed up at a slow walking speed. There are loads of cases like this, including 11 in a single month just in Los Angeles.
I mean, I don't know about you, chat, but like when I see stuff like this, I get filled with so much fucking rage. I get filled with so much fucking rage that I look at this shit and I'm just like, we need to have a national police ombudsman program that creates a national police academy, that creates national police standards. There should be a prosecutor set up that gets a bonus for every time they convict a police officer of a crime. Like, we should create incentives where it's like, if you convict a cop of murder, you get a $250,000 bonus right into your account. Like, I want to have the most aggressive policing of the police that you can imagine. I mean, the police in America get paid like $250,000 a year in big cities. Like, I don't think you guys understand that how much cops are paid in the United States. They are some of the most overpaid people in the entire world. And they have no standards. They don't even need a college degree. They don't even understand what the law is. It's like, why are you paying someone more than you pay lawyers and they don't know the law they're supposedly enforcing? It's fucking insane. And then they retire after like 20 years. So they retire at like 45, 50, and they sit on a pension for 40 fucking years, draining the coffers of the city. It's an absolute joke.
Who heads the Department of Homeland Security, sometimes says ICE needs to wear masks because drug cartels have put out bounties on them.
Specific officers and agents that have bounties that have been put out on their heads. It's been $2,000 to kidnap them, $10,000 to kill them. They've released their pictures.
But she has provided no evidence of those bounties. No one has been able to find any. And it's hard to understand why cartels would do this. Johnny talked about this in his video on ICE, which you should watch. But the agency is mostly targeting non-criminals, and it's actually taking officers off of cartel cases in order to do it. So why would the cartels be mad about that? ICE also says they have to mask because protesters are threatening officers and their families. Let's take a look at the evidence. One officer in Texas who got a harassing phone call, one in Massachusetts whose wife got a threatening Facebook message, one in California whose address got posted online alongside a threat, another in California who got heckled outside his home, some flyers in Portland that said no peace for ICE and showed agents.
I mean, maybe I'm an asshole. Maybe I'm an asshole, but I get more threats than this on a daily basis, and I'm a Twitch streamer. Like, I think if you're going to be paid by the government to infringe on people's rights, you need to be able to tank a little bit of criticism. People legitimately scrutinize me more than they do people in Congress. I would say honestly, I think I get more scrutiny personally than the average senator, like United States senator. Like, that's not even a joke. And Hassan is treated like he's a presidential candidate.
Faces and an officer who says he got some trash dumped on his lawn. That's it. That's their evidence. And my point is not to suggest that this is all okay. Threatening anyone is a crime. And some of these people did land in jail. My point is this. 20,000 agents across America, and the worst threats they face are a handful of social media posts that led to nothing and got swiftly punished. That's the epidemic of domestic terrorism forcing ICE to mask up. Look at these videos and tell me who you think is the one in danger. Trump officials have expressed another reason why they might want ICE to mask, one that I think is more consistent with the facts. This is senior White House official Stephen Miller.
To all ICE officers, you have federal immunity in the conduct of your duty, and anybody who lays a hand on you or tries to stop you or tries to obstruct you is committing a felony.
Immunity? He's telling ICE, as long as you're on the job, every day is the purge. And this is something Trump has been promising since his 2024 campaign.
Make them safe places again. We're going to give our police their power back, and we're going to give them immunity from prosecution.
He means ICE here. Here he is announcing the agency's deployment to Washington, D.C.
They fight back until you knock the hell out of them, because it's the only language they understand. And they're standing there, and people are spitting in their face, and they're not allowed to do anything. But now they are allowed to do whatever the hell they want.
They're talking about this. If you want ICE to be able to do
whatever the hell they want,
you can't have anything limiting their powers, which means wearing masks. If you don't know an agent's identity, you can't sue them, you can't press charges, you don't even know what agency to call up and complain to. Listen to the rest of that clip of Stephen Miller promising ICE immunity.
You have immunity to perform your duties, and no one, no city official, no state official, no illegal alien, no leftist agitator or domestic insurrectionist can prevent you from fulfilling your legal obligations and duties.
He's not just talking about immunity from courts and laws. He's talking about activists and protesters. People whose only point of leverage is public accountability, name and shame, because he knows, and he is saying, that immunity for ICE means closing off all three of these lines of accountability. But why do they want that? What does ICE want to use all that immunity for, and what does it mean for the rest of us? We're now...
I think the important thing to understand here is to stop for a second and say that that wasn't even true of American soldiers in Iraq. Now, American soldiers in Iraq had immunity from a prosecution in Iraqi courts because we have what's known as a SOF, or Status of Forces Agreement. And in the Status of Forces Agreement, the Iraqis said that American troops had immunity from Iraqi courts But the understanding was that if they committed violations against the rights of Iraqis, they would be prosecuted under the UCMJ, which is a Uniform Code of Military Justice. Now, obviously, this was rarely done. Obviously, this was rarely done. So when you grant immunity to prosecution to a group of people, they're going to abuse a lot of people's rights. That's just the way it goes. And that's why America does that. It gives itself immunity into countries that we occupy. There was still rules of engagement. There were still prosecutions that did happen of members of the American military. They basically want to treat ICE as more unaccountable than the U.S. military was when it was occupying Iraq and Afghanistan. This is actually the fascist imperial boomerang coming back harder as a matter of policy.
At the bigger question here, what is the purpose of Trump wanting a masked national police force? Well, we know from ICE's bosses that masking is to take away accountability. It's also worth asking whether police is the right word. Look at this video that DHS put out of ICE flying a Black Hawk military helicopter into Chicago and rappelling into an apartment building. Remember, this is how ICE wants you to see them. And if you're thinking, well, maybe this was a dangerous cartel headquarters requiring a military-style operation, it was an apartment building where ICE used flashbang grenades and zip ties on what turned out to be mostly regular families and U.S. citizens. DHS later admitted that despite raiding 130 apartments, they ultimately found just one person even suspected of gang affiliation. This is not exactly the Battle of Fallujah, guys. The government is constantly promoting imagery of ICE in heavy military gear, conducting military-style raids. It's in official White House statements, even White House recruitment ads. And my point is, if we want to ask what ICE is, we have to listen to what the people in charge are telling us it is. And they are shaking us by the shoulders, pleading with us to see it as a paramilitary organization. Okay, so why do they want an unaccountable paramilitary force? That's the big question here, right? Actually, time out for 1 second. This is the part where normally we'd hear from legal scholars, experts on other countries where this has happened, quotes from founding fathers about our rights. But once we start throwing around words like tyranny or scenarios about what ICE could do in the future, it's going to sound crazy or scaremongery. And honestly, I don't know how persuasive it even really is to make this about constitutional ideals or hypotheticals about becoming this or that country. So we're not going to do that. We're going to stay focused on today, ground truth, what we can say is happening. Okay, back over here. Actually, hold on 1 second. I'm going to show you what I mean. Okay, now we're going to look at how ICE is using its powers and what the top officials in charge of ICE have said they wanted to do with those powers. The government has gone to all of these lengths to make ICE unaccountable. That's what Stephen Miller said, right? That's his big line, federal immunity. Okay, but to do what? Obviously, the big one, to deport people. ICE's bosses say it's deporting dangerous, violent criminals, the worst of the worst, deport violent criminals. Let's look at the data. ICE doesn't tell us how many people they've deported, just how many they're currently holding, about 65,000. Of those, according to ICE's data, 1 in 4 have a conviction on their record, another 1 in 4 has been accused of something but not convicted, and half are just not here legally, for example, because their work permit expired. Actually, let's look at the convicts in a little more detail here, because only about 1 in 5 are for violent crimes. They're actually more convicted of traffic charges. And if you break down the violent crimes here, zoom in even more, most are simple assault. Homicides are a tiny sliver, less than 0.3% of ICE detentions. So ICE is mostly not deporting violent criminals. Who they're mostly deporting is undocumented immigrants. And that, that's what the agency exists to do. But I think it's worth being clear about that. So
almost 40% of sworn LA Sheriff's Department staff live outside LA County. Here's generally my feeling. Here's generally my feeling. If you want to change police culture, you have to directly address police culture. And one of the things that you need for police, and this is what's kind of dangerous in America, is subordination to democracy. Now, up until the Trump administration, there was one really good cultural element of the military, is that American generals, especially active duty generals, did not comment on politics. And there is a culture of subservience to civilian control. Now, you could say that was propaganda. You could say that was a veil. But there isn't such a culture in American policing. American police are openly and brazenly insubordinate. And that needs to change. Link to the video? Sure.
We're going to cross out violent criminals here, and I'm going to write down undocumented immigrants. Deport undocumented immigrants. Now we're going to put it on the board as we go. Deport undocumented immigrants. Okay, good. These are people who have mostly, for the most part, overwhelmingly never gotten as much as a traffic charge. Just worth to keep that in mind. But if this was the only thing ICE were doing, it would make masking seem really weird. Like, ICE doesn't need immunity or anonymity to deport non-violent undocumented immigrants, right? And sure enough, they are quietly deporting a lot of legal immigrants too. In San Diego, ICE has even been showing up at green card interviews where people married to US citizens only to handcuff and take them away. Like this couple, a US Marine who watched ICE drag off his Thailand-born wife.
Do everything that we can to protect and serve our country, and then they betray us by treating us like we've never done anything.
Or these 4 legal residents in California who got pushed into an unmarked car and never came back. Or this research scientist from Korea, perfectly legal, who no one has heard from since ICE grabbed him in July. No one knows how many legal residents have been swept up, but one review of official records found that in June and July alone, ICE grabbed 9,000 people who had no criminal record or deportation order. It's tempting to hope that these are just innocent mistakes until you see videos like this. A mom in Virginia showing agents her valid work permit and social security card, only to get dragged off while her daughter records. Or this woman, another mom, another legal resident, who handed over her papers to an ICE officer who then, on camera, pretended to not have them, I guess as a joke.
I just gave you the documents. What documents?
Then had her handcuffed and driven off in an unmarked car. And this might just be the start. President Trump says he wants to do this on a much larger scale. Like in this Truth Social post pledging to denaturalize migrants and deport foreign nationals. And not just individuals, but entire populations that he deemed non-compatible or disruptive. A threat that he made on Thanksgiving. So you see why ICE might think it's their job to deport people for their race or religion no matter how legal they are. And they're taking away US citizens too. So far, at least 170 according to reporting by ProPublica, including 20 children that we know about. Some citizens are being deported, including this 4-year-old boy with cancer, often to countries they've never been to, with no legal authority to ship them off. Here's a big one, illegal use of force. Like when this woman asked an agent why he had just arrested her legal...
Have you seen the dollar today down almost 1%? It's nearing a 52-week low, chat. This is the weakest the dollar's gonna been in a year. Trump came into office, dollar has been weakening the entire time. You think it's going to bottom out soon? The Fed is printing 80 billion over the next few weeks. Oh, it's actually the weakest it's been in the last 3 years. What about all time? The weakest the dollar get was in the middle of the Great Recession. It got a bit weaker than this during the COVID crash. Then it came roaring back. Interesting.
Resident husband while he was at the courthouse just updating his paperwork.
It didn't drop by very much.
Or this 79-year-old man, a citizen who did nothing wrong, ICE agents broke his ribs, knelt on his neck, then held him for 12 hours without medical attention. Or this high school student, also a US citizen, who had to be hospitalized after agents knelt on his neck. We have dozens of these. ProPublica found 50 just of ICE agents smashing car windows. People guilty of no crime, not resisting, not trying to drive away. Remember, this is exactly the sort of violence that police accountability is supposed to protect you from. There have also been widespread reports of illegal searches, often of people's homes, which ICE will storm out of nowhere, no warrant, and trash.
Hands up! Hands up! Hands up! Hands up!
A federal judge called one of these the most illegal search I have ever seen in my life. A high school student would know this was an illegal search. And these aren't mistakes. The Trump administration is telling ICE to do this. There's a whole constitutional amendment outlawing this one. Number 4, no illegal search and seizure. But if ICE can violate it with impunity, it's not really a right anymore, is it? And if you're thinking, well, I'm not an immigrant, so I don't have to worry, just wait. Before we show these, I want you to ask yourself, have I ever disagreed with anything the government was doing? Even if it's not ICE, One day, you might want to protest something, and then this could be you. Some of these are just bullying, but look, free speech is supposed to mean you don't have to worry you'll get clocked in the jaw by a masked state agent just for questioning the government. And these incidents are getting more serious. You might remember this one from earlier. It's of ICE snatching people at a peaceful protest and stuffing them into a van. Here's a woman who was playing a clarinet on the sidelines of a protest when ICE tackled her, dragged her off, charged her with felony assault of an officer. More and more of these protesters are getting picked up and then resurfacing later in hospital beds. Like this Los Angeles activist who got dragged off by ICE, beaten into unconsciousness, and then ICE came to her hospital bed to take her away again.
At one point, she identifies herself as an American.
Here's ICE shooting a canister at a priest in the head. He's just standing there. Look at this video from Illinois, where ICE drove a car into a crowd of protesters. The government indicted the protesters for this, calling it a criminal conspiracy to assault an ICE officer. I'm not leaving anything out of this video. They're facing up to 8 years in federal prison for this. And ICE is starting to threaten worse than prison, like these agents who drove up to a protester, pointed a gun in his face, and told him, "Bang, bang, you're dead, liberal." And here's the really important thing. These are not a few bad apple agents going rogue. Here's Kristi Noem, who, remember, runs the agency in charge of ICE, telling agents they have carte blanche to hammer protesters for their political speech.
We're going to hammer these guys that are advocating for violence against the American people. What they are doing is advocating to harm not just you and your colleagues, but your families, and they're doxing your identities.
There it is again. Doxing, the last protection regular people have against police. Simply knowing agents' identities, our legal right, has been turned into a crime deserving of a beating by ICE agents. And if you're skeptical that ICE's bosses really want to encourage violence, take a good look at this ICE guy here. That's Greg Bavino. He is the top operational official at ICE, not some rogue officer. The Trump administration has made Bavino the public face of ICE, promoting him in social videos like, well, just watch. Okay, hold on. This coat. They put out a lot of photos of Bavino in this outfit, and like, is it a dog whistle? Are they trolling us? I mean, come on. Nope, not taking.
I think one of the things that liberals do is they're like, oh, I'm not taking the bait. So in other words, you're just letting them do it. I think the main problem is that while all of us are outraged, the Democratic Party is complicit, right? It's not about not taking the bait or taking the bait. It's about the Democratic Party doesn't want to hold Republicans accountable. Because the moment you start holding people accountable for war crimes, then you're going to have to start prosecuting Obama and Clinton and Joe Biden. So they are very interested in covering up the crimes of the Republicans because they commit crimes too. It's just really, it's something I said last night, which is the difference between the Democratic Party and the Republican Party is one of style, not substance. Obama wants to kidnap kids and deport them, but hand them a teddy bear while doing it. When they build a ICE detention facility in Arizona under the liberals, they want to do a land acknowledgement about how it's unceded territory before they start filling up the concentration camp. Donald Trump pointed out, and he was right, that the kids in cages, well, the cages were built under Obama, and a lot of kids were put in them under Obama. It's not about not taking the bait. It's about the realization that if you want to hold Trump accountable, we have to create institutions that are strong enough to hold Democrats accountable for their crimes as well. And that is the crisis. That is the problem, is that the Democratic Party is complicit.
The bait, but we will come back to Greg Bavino, but not the jacket. Here's another thing ICE has been doing a lot of. Assault or jail people filming them. Like this guy in LA, he had his car rammed by ICE agents, was hospitalized, and got dragged out of his hospital bed by ICE to be arrested. Some ICE agents in Charlotte actually got caught on camera plotting to do the same thing to a guy filming them, and then to shoot him.
He's gonna crash. He's gonna get shot. That's what's gonna happen.
Or this guy, just filming ICE at a red light in Chicago.
What you gonna do? I'm a U.S. citizen. I'm a U.S. citizen. What you gonna do? I'm a U.S. citizen.
Here's one infamous case. You might have heard about this. Miramar Martinez is a Chicago activist who films ICE operations. It's because of people like her that we know what ICE is doing. In October, Border Patrol agents surrounded her car and shot her 5 times. The agency said Martinez had rammed their car with hers and brandished a gun.
But new information and inconsistencies are making people question the government's version of what happened.
Police reports and body cam footage showed that she never picked up a gun, that it was Border Patrol who had actually rammed her car off the road, and that the agents, just before shooting her, had shouted, "Do something." And there's more to this. The agency's statement on the shooting made a point of saying that Martinez was known for doxing agents, and that just days before this shooting, agents had been told to be on the lookout for her, as if to say to the rest of us, look at what happens to people who dox us.
You can't dox a police officer. That's not a thing. That's not a fucking thing. But I would say this, chat. If you want to have an ICE accountability archive, which I support, make sure that you are protecting yourself and you're delinking it from any of your other social media and doing your best for things like Faraday cages or, VPNs. Try to prevent, like, I believe there is a system that they have where burner phones can be associated with other phones based on time and proximity. So if you have a burner phone on and it's next to your phone that's on, that the government will associate them and then connect your name to that phone. So like burner phones need to like never be close to your actual phone. Like you should have your main phone in a Faraday bag whenever you're near a burner phone. And like these are the type of things, like you should consider any phone to be a government bug.
And by the way, it later came out that the agent who had shot her sent texts bragging about it to other agents. I fired 5 rounds and she had 7 holes. Put that in your book, boys. The charges against her got dropped for lack of evidence, but, I still got the message out that its agents might ram and shoot you and get away with it just for doing this.
I felt it was my responsibility to let my neighborhood know that ICE agents were near.
ICE has even begun targeting elected officials who criticize the agency.
Breaking news here in Manhattan. City's controller, Brad Lander, was just detained at immigration.
Alderwoman handcuffed by federal agents.
Arrested last month.
That dramatic showdown in Los Angeles. A senator handcuffed.
If you think it's an accident, look at this. When ICE deployed to Los Angeles, Kristi Noem flew to say that they had come to, quote, liberate Los Angeles and California from its elected leadership.
We are staying here to liberate this city from the socialist and the burdensome leadership that this governor and that this mayor have placed on this country.
Moments after that, federal agents with Noem handcuffed a United States senator who'd come to ask her questions.
Violent criminals that you're rotating on your
Think about the message this sends about ICE's mission. It's about more than just immigration, isn't it? ICE has also begun defying legally binding court orders, like from this federal judge who told ICE its agents had to identify themselves. These courts are supposed to be the last guardrail against agencies like ICE breaking the law. When one threatened to hold government officials in contempt for ignoring their rulings, Tom Homan, this guy, said something important in response.
We're not stopping. I don't care what the judges think. I don't care what the left thinks. We're coming.
It's policy, he is saying, to ignore the law. And what are they doing with all this power? They've swept up thousands of people with no charge, no formal record, without saying who they've taken or even where they are.
Investigative team says at least 3,000 jailed immigrants have vanished from federal records.
In Texas, ICE agents raided a children's birthday party, driving off with 38 adults and 9 children. Nearly a year later, we still don't know what happened to them. So what am I supposed to put on this card? What do you even call this? A local judge who's been demanding...
Those are called disappearances, is what you call that. And, I think it's wild we haven't heard reports of more serious resistance. What worries me is that the Democratic Party is basically structurally similar to the center party of Weimar Germany. And the center party, the liberal centrist party of Germany, the center party, voted with the fascists to give Hitler absolute power. And when I look at the Democratic Party, I think at least 80 Democrats would do that under the right conditions. So I look at the Democratic Party and it's basically a combination of the center party, the SPD, and maybe 1 or 2 communists, 1 or 2 KPD members, maybe, had they been in Weimar. And I really have a hard time imagining the Democratic Party standing up to Trump in a crisis. The German liberals signed a letter with Hitler to make sure he didn't ban their party, which he immediately did after passing the Enabling Act. As far as I know, Hitler never gave them the letter, dude. I think Hitler promised a letter, and they voted to give him absolute power, and they never even got the promise. Like, the liberals in Nazi Germany were so cucked by fascism that they were like discussed having a promise, and then they gave up their vote without even getting the promise. Very Chuck Schumer coded.
Answers in the case told ProPublica, quote, "We're not told why they took them, and we're not told where they took them. By definition, that's a kidnapping." That's from a judge. I don't want to sound alarmist, so instead of writing kidnapping, I'll just put, I guess, disappear people without saying why or where to. Again, if you're thinking, I'm not an immigrant, so this doesn't affect me, ICE is starting to target citizens just for their political opinions. Greg Bavino. Remember him? Bavino said in court that he told his agents to arrest protesters just for making, quote, hyperbolic statements. ICE's field director said they consider it legal to arrest Chicago residents just for being opposed to the agency's operations there. Just to be super clear about this, ICE is telling its officers to arrest you for expressing political opinions that they don't like. I really want to make that clear. And they're saying this extends to what opinions you express online, too. Again, this is according to one of ICE's own officials who testified in court that the agency acquired a list of 5,000 college students and others who had protested against Israel. What does that even have to do with this? Sure enough, a bunch of...
By the way, chat, does Destiny or any of the people attacking Hassan, do they acknowledge this, that the Canary Mission and Zionists are directly working with ICE and giving their names over? Is that not, you know, when Hassan says Israel, the United States of Israel, do they acknowledge that that's actually not hyperbole, but it's direct factual truth?
Legal residents on that list got swept up by ICE, including one woman who spent 6 weeks in a detention center just for writing a student op-ed about Israel, and another still locked up months later with no charge at all. The federal judge ruled that all of this is illegal. ICE is ignoring him. In fact, ICE's bosses say that the agency will do even more of this, next by targeting people who criticize ICE too vocally online, including by tracking people's physical movements, using their phone signal and facial recognition software attached to drones that ICE is flying over US cities. This is in their own documents, and the software that they use for that facial recognition is so powerful that even a lot of police departments are barred from using it. They have also revealed a plan to force US citizens with so much as an immigrant family member to submit to around-the-clock government monitoring through their fingerprints, eye scans, and their DNA, all as part of a mandatory government registry to track immigrants and their relatives for, quote, good moral character. Actually, you know, that last thing about monitoring citizens for moral character, that seems notable enough to put it on the board, so let's put that one up there too. Let's take a step back and look at this. We asked why ICE masks, and the short answer, according to the people in charge, is to make it immune. And the long answer is that so that their immunity will permit them to do all of this. And that brings us to ICE killing a woman named Renee Good in Minneapolis, an event that was, in many ways, the culmination of everything ICE has been building over the past year. And we're going to break down precisely what happened, beat by beat, so you can see what it looks like when ICE deploys the same powers that its bosses have steadily built up for it, and against the people that those same bosses have urged ICE to target. As you're watching, I want you to think of this moment as the entire relationship between ICE and America in microcosm, because that's what it is. This video is from a Minneapolis suburb in early January. These ICE agents are stopping Renee Good, just a mom, US citizen, on her way home after dropping her kids at school. It's easy to understand what happens next if we see it from another angle. This is the same moment you just saw, now from video taken by an ICE agent. Renee answers the agent's commands.
That's fine, dude. I'm not mad, boy.
Let's go back to the other angle. That ICE agent is about to try to open her door. Okay, back to the second angle. There's the agent about to go for her door in the back. The witnesses said at this point they heard one agent tell Renee to get out of the car, while another agent told her to drive away.
Out of the car. Get out of the
Okay, back to the wide view. Renee at this point has gotten two contradictory orders. Agents are surrounding her car, so she puts her car in reverse to follow the second order, the one telling her to drive away. You can see the ICE agent recording this on his phone. And notice something here. His phone is in his left hand. Let's rewind a few seconds. His phone at this point was still in his right hand, his dominant hand. And it stayed there while he walked around the car. Let's see if we can find the moment he switches the phone from his right hand to his left. Start here, same moment we just saw, now from the agent's perspective. He's walking around the side of the car.
When you come talk to us later. That's fine. U.S. citizen, former
Okay, here, you see the agent's hand at the bottom of the frame and the camera jumping around. This is the agent moving the phone from his right hand into his left. Renee has been parked this entire time.
So why is he moving to his offhand, chat? Why is he moving to his offhand, chat? I think this is where it crosses in the first degree murder for me, because there's no threat here. There's no violence. There's no violation of any law. She taunted him and he made the decision to shoot her.
She's told agents she's complying. The agent taking video is to the side of the car and no threat of being run over. And yet, he just did something weird. He freed up his right hand, his gun hand, and he's about to do something else provocative. He crosses in front of the car. He's going out of his way to block this woman in, even though she's done nothing to threaten him. He's now got his hand on his gun. This is something that ICE and Border Patrol explicitly tell its agents not to do. This is an internal Border Patrol document from 2013. It says agents have a history of intentionally putting themselves in the exit path of vehicles to create justification to use deadly force against the driver, to shoot the driver, often just because the agent was feeling frustrated. And it set rules, which are still in force, forbidding agents from shooting at a moving vehicle or standing in front of a suspect's car. But that is exactly what this agent was getting ready to do. Remember,
By the way, 10-year veteran of ICE. 10-year veteran of ICE, hired during Obama's administration. And yet, he's doing exactly what is illegal. He's lining himself up to do a cold-blooded murder of an American citizen. And he still hasn't been arrested. I want to repeat that again. The killers of Renee Good and Alex Pretti have not been arrested or charged with anything. Again, Democrats control almost every piece of elected office in Minnesota. Where are the prosecutions? Why is the murderers still at large? Why are they still on the force? As far as I know, they've never even been put on administrative leave.
Renee gets contradictory orders from ICE telling her to both get out of the car and drive away.
Out of the car. Get out of the car.
Her friend tells her to drive away.
Get out of the car.
She backs up a few feet. It's clear from this angle. The ICE agent is now to the side of the car, out of danger. But
By the way, this is an ICE car right here. This is an ICE vehicle. Now, it's an unmarked civilian vehicle blocking traffic. So it's forcing her. She can't just go quickly, easily, and leave the area and stop. She is now blocked in, and so she has to maneuver around the ICE vehicle.
Agent draws his gun and steps to the left as Renee turns the wheels to the right, away from the agents, and starts to drive.
Because she has to kind of go that direction because they left their car door open, blocking as much of her path of travel as possible.
3 times. One goes through the windshield, and the other 2 through the driver's side window. They hit Renee in the face, chest, and arm, killing her. You've probably seen that video before, and maybe you'd even seen it broken down. But to me, what makes this especially significant is how ICE's bosses presented the incident, because of what it tells us about why they want ICE to have the power, thanks to masking, to conduct their operations like this. And at first, those officials said the shooting was justified because Renee hit the agent with her car.
This was an act of domestic terrorism.
But we know that's not true. That actually the agent readied his gun hand when Renee was parked and complying with orders, then put himself in front of her car to block her in. And when she tried to safely drive off, he shot her to death. So Trump officials pivoted and said she was a domestic terrorist not for assaulting agents, but on these grounds.
You know, if you look up the definition of terrorism, is there violence? Is there threat of violence based on an ideology that wants to change the way the government does what we do? If you look up the definition of terrorism, it certainly can fall within that.
In other words, she was a terrorist because she might have disagreed with Trump's politics. And when Trump was asked whether ICE was right to use deadly force, he said yes, for this reason.
The woman and her friend were highly disrespectful of law enforcement. You saw that?
State officials tried to investigate her death as a possible murder, but the FBI blocked it, and instead investigated Renee for ties to supposed activist agitators. And Vice President J.D. Vance said—
By the way, chat, the FBI agents were happy to go along with that. It's very important that you understand that. The FBI is the secret police. We already had one. we have so many secret fucking polices. It's like, how many more do we need? It's because you aren't complying with what your betters are telling you to do. So they need to have more and more and more and more. They don't just want to just pay taxes to educate people and build infrastructure and build housing and have a functioning society. No, we need to spend trillions of dollars on secret police so you treat them like they're your betters or whatever the fuck. Again, that's why I can't speak.
The agent who'd killed her had total immunity.
That guy's protected by absolute immunity. He was doing his job.
He was doing his job. In the days after, some ICE agents took that message seriously. They told protesters, keep it up and you're next.
Have y'all not learned from the past couple of days?
What do you want us to learn?
Following federal agents.
Give me my phone back.
Or this, outside of a church, right after Renee's killing.
Not learned from what just happened? Go home.
Learn what?
A far-right influencer embedded with ICE said the same thing.
Hey, we executed one of you yesterday.
And then Trump followed this by sending 1,000 more agents to the same city, who arrived knowing their government had told the country it was okay for them to shoot neighborhood moms to death for being rude or for having the wrong political views, and they would get full immunity to do it again.
I mean, I think he's completely correct. And so now we're asking ourselves, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? And obviously, none of us wants to engage in violence. It's not something that human beings like doing. And as you know, chat, I follow the law here. If you're a law follower, put Peepo Smile in the chat. One of the things that I think when I look at this situation is how much can we accomplish through legal means and how much can only be accomplished through illegal means? And right now we're on the precipice. If we haven't crossed the Rubicon, we're wading into its waters. And I believe that if that's the condition that we're in, we need to be made ready. So that means following all appropriate laws, get yourself a gun, practice with it. Start going to the gym. If you haven't been already, now is the time to try to get in shape. No more procrastinating. You need to be able to run a mile. Like right now, you need to just be able to run at a brisk pace a mile right now. You need to be able to carry 20, 30, 40, 50 pounds of gear. You need to be able to shoot a gun, clean a gun, maintain a gun, sight in a gun. You need to have a community of people at a group, an organized group of people that you're a part of. All this has got to go wrong right now. I honestly feel like I'm behind the curve. I mean, I started getting back to the gym a couple months ago, and it's been like 3.5 months. And I got to tell you, chat, at the holidays, I slacked a little bit. So we have to do better. And we have no more procrastinating. Now is the time to get involved.
What does all of this add up to?
Hey, Mike, fellow law school grad, did you know that Ice Gum's favorite line, 18 USC 111, doesn't actually apply to almost anything they do because an unconstitutional act cannot be an official duty? Well, of course.
Picture, what is this new set of powers that at root come from masks intended to accomplish? Because ICE is about to get much, much larger. As of this month, its budget is nearly quadrupling to $28 billion a year, which is more than most of the world's standing armies. In polls, most Americans say that ICE is too aggressive, that it's probably arresting citizens, and that agents shouldn't wear masks. But listen to what President Trump said when he was shown videos of ICE tackling mothers and tear gassing suburban streets.
Have some of these raids gone too far?
No, I think they haven't gone far enough because we've been held back by the judges, by the liberal judges that were put in by Biden and by Obama.
Even all this is just from ICE operations in a few cities. With its new budget, the agency is about to become reality nationally. So the usual move, again, would be for me to bring in someone from another country where something like this has happened to explain how life changes when the government has an unaccountable paramilitary force that targets people for their opinions, handcuffs elected officials, disappears thousands without charge, and attacks innocent citizens and protesters with impunity. But let's keep the focus here and now by hearing from a guy named William Young. Young is a high-ranking federal judge appointed by Ronald Reagan. It's not some liberal. A few months ago, several rights groups sued the government over ICE locking up legal residents for criticizing Israel. Again, I don't know why that's ICE's problem. Young heard the case and issued a ruling saying the practice was illegal and had to stop. But he said more than that. And then there's the issue of masks. This court has listened carefully to the reasons given for masking up and has heard the same reasons advanced by the acting director of ICE. It rejects this testimony. ICE goes masked for a single reason: to terrorize Americans into quiescence. He goes on, in all our history, we have never tolerated an armed, masked secret police. That's his opinion. He's one guy as a judge. Agree with him, disagree with him. That's what he said. Some of the states where ICE is deploying are advancing laws to require ICE agents to identify themselves. Here's California Governor Gavin Newsom.
If you're going to go out and you're going to do enforcement, provide an ID. Tell us which agency you represent. Provide us basic information that all local law enforcement is required to provide.
The Trump administration says that they will ignore these laws and might even arrest state officials who pass them. I want to come back to this.
Call their bluff. Call their motherfucking bluff. Call their bluff. Call their bluff. And I'll tell you why it's a bluff. Because, first of all, the GOP is unpopular. They don't have a mandate. They don't have a pretense. They're unpopular. Second, the moment anybody starts escalating this shit against Donald Trump, the economy fucking crashes. And Donald Trump's approval rating goes into the teens. And people are going to be abandoning the Republican Party immediately. They don't have any space. They don't have it. Already Trump has pissed off the Europeans and Canadians and Mexico. What allies does the United States have that are going to rush in to defend Trump? Tell them, fucking call their bluff. Call their fucking bluff. So the military will be mutinying. But the Democrats are born cuckolds. And they won't. So they're going to let Trump continue to infringe on our rights. Personally, I think we have to lay the groundwork for resistance before we pull the trigger. But if you're Gavin fucking Newsom, you have enough power as it is to be like, no, you're going to follow the law and listen to the courts, or we're going to impound federal money. We're not going to pay any money to the feds. No income taxes for any Californian. Force the issue.
The balance of rights and protections between law enforcement and citizens. It's not looking so good for the citizens. But that last protection, public accountability, name and shame, it still has some life in it. Despite all of ICE's efforts, you can still name and shame them. Greg Bavino, I told you we would come back to him. Bavino is one of the few ICE officers who, as the public face of the agency's operations, makes himself identifiable. It's how we know that when that US senator got handcuffed for questioning the DHS chief, he was there. That when masked ICE agents masked outside a press conference put on by the California governor, he was there. And that at ICE's deployment in Chicago, he was on the ground directing operations. Which means that when a federal judge in Chicago ordered ICE to stop tear gassing people without justification, she had someone she could hold accountable by name: Greg Bavino. Barely a week later, guess who showed up in a video in Chicago, personally throwing a tear gas container into a peaceful crowd? Greg Bavino. Which meant that judge could order Bavino to appear in court and even threaten to charge him with contempt or with perjury for when Bavino testified that he'd hit a protester in self-defense, only for footage to reveal that it had been the reverse. Name and shame, public pressure. Look, I am not saying that threatening one ICE official with some moderate scolding from a judge is going to turn all of this back. It's not going to stop a 20,000 strong paramilitary force that's been promised total immunity from the highest level of power. Public accountability, it's just a tap on the brakes. It works. The masking shows they know that it works. Every time they attack someone who films them, it's an admission that regular people do still have some power over them. They're afraid of these videos. They're afraid of you seeing what they're doing. Which is why, whatever you think of immigration, whoever you voted for, if you value your rights and freedoms, if you don't want the government to be able to send some mass goon to shove you into a van because the powers that be don't like your politics, then one thing that you can do, as simple as it sounds, is to keep watching.
The one thing that I ask you, chat, you now no longer have an excuse for being surprised. You no longer have the right to be surprised when right are infringed upon by ICE officials. You no longer have the right to be surprised. You may, I want you to keep your outrage. I want you to bottle up that rage, but I don't want you to be surprised. They do not have the advantage of surprise anymore.
What more can you tell us?
That's absolutely right, Anna. Just moments ago, we saw state investigators here at the site where Alex Pretti was shot and killed around 9 a.m. on Saturday morning. They set up a ladder right over there, and they were taking photo evidence, pictures, and collecting what appear to be swabs of other evidence on the scene. And this is encouraging because, Anna, as you just noted, Governor Walz and President Trump talked just yesterday. And after that phone call conversation, Governor Walz released this statement saying, quote, the president agreed to look into reducing the number of federal agents in Minnesota and to talk to DHS about ensuring the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension is able to conduct an independent investigation as would ordinarily be the case. Well, we may have been just seeing that investigation in real time. And this is notable, of course, Anna, because in the wake of the previous killing of Renee Good just a couple of weeks ago, we saw the federal government sort of gatekeep the state from their own investigation, not share key pieces of evidence, the car that Renee Good was in, like the shell casings, like the eyewitness testimony that the FBI had gathered at the scene. Based on this conversation between Governor Walz and President Trump, it looks like there may be more coordination, more cooperation between the state and the federal government when it comes to this investigation with Alex Pretti. Anna?
And Alex, I know there is a rally set for later today celebrating Greg Bovino's departure and this plan to move out some of the federal agents. Homan meets today with the mayor. Does the community feel like this is a turning point toward de-escalation?
There is a cautious optimism here right now on people don't want to be too hopeful given all of the perpetual trauma that this community has faced in the last 2 months. But I was actually right here at the scene, at this vigil, at this memorial last night when the news broke that federal agents were starting to get Greg Bovino, the commander of the Border Patrol, is seemingly being replaced by Tom Homan. I talked to one St. Paul resident named Kim about if she's hopeful in this moment. I want you to hear what she told me last night.
I hope they do, but with the history of what we've seen and the fact that they've searched so many different types of people here, am I optimistic? Not particularly. Am I hopeful? I have some hope.
I guess I'll believe it when I see it. It would be great. I hope it's going to this will happen, but really some is a good start, but all is really what we need.
And you can hear the hesitation in those voices. People want to believe that things are getting better, but as the friend of Alex Pretti had just said, he said he'll believe it when he sees it.
Alex Tabbitt, thank you for your reporting live for us in Minneapolis. Jake, this seems to be a significant change in the president's approach after previously vowing.
Mike, do you think Walz gave up the voter rolls? I think they have access to it anyway, to be honest. The day of reckoning and retribution is coming. Now he's, sort of making nice with the governor and with the mayor. What's the message from the White House today? Could we see Derek Thompson joins CBS News? Oh, wow, what a surprise. Wow, what a surprise. Wow, what a surprise. A bunch of every single one of these people are right-wing lunatics.
Any other staffing changes in the near future?
Yeah, Anna, we are seeing quite the tonal shift from the president. Him, as we saw at the beginning of the show, speaking about this positive, fruitful conversation that he's had with the mayor of Minneapolis, with the governor of Minnesota, after for weeks and really months now, accusing those individuals of being the ones mainly responsible for some of the violence and what we've seen take place in Minneapolis over the past couple of weeks. But we are in real time learning about this meeting that took place yesterday between President Trump, the Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, and her top aide, Corey Lewandowski. A White House official tells me that Noem requested the meeting, that her and the president and Lewandowski met for almost 2 full hours, and that they discussed a wide range of topics, but the real main focus throughout that was, of course, what is actively going on in Minneapolis. Another White House official tells me that the president has been frustrated and concerned with, of course, what happened, but also some of the initial reaction from some of his top senior White House officials, including Kristi Noem as well. This official caveated to me in terms of what we could see next in terms of potentially seeing a shift in leadership, that the president is fond of Noem, that she's not necessarily on the chopping block per se, but that this is a real tense moment, and she's really attempting to rise to the occasion here, which is why she requested that meeting. But overall, you're right. We are seeing this widely just clear shift in framing, talking about having an investigation, talking about unity. We rarely hear from the First Lady herself, Melania Trump, on really most political issues. She spoke on Fox and Friends earlier today talking about unity going forward. Take a listen to that.
We need to unify. I'm calling for unity. I know my husband, the president, had a great call yesterday with the governor and the mayor, and they're working together to make it peaceful and without riots.
I mean, if we're talking about foreign immigrant criminal, I mean, she came here, violated her tourist visa to illegally work. It's kind of an open secret that she was a prostitute. I mean, like, if we're deporting criminals, it is what it is. Same thing with Elon Musk. One thing I would say is we should expropriate all their wealth first.
I'll note, too, Anna, as the president and the first lady call for peace and unity, he still has consistently criticized the leaders of that area and continue to point to fraud in the state as the main issue, despite what we're seeing.
Let's zoom in a little bit, Jake, on this new person that he's put in charge in Minnesota. That is Tom Homan, who had, well, no, one of the more cautious, immediate responses to Renee Good's death. But he previously has promised shock and awe on immigration-related actions. He's threatened to prosecute Democrats who stand in his way. Remind us of some of the more controversial positions Homan has taken. And is the expectation that Homan will do things differently than Greg Bovino?
Yeah, it's a great question, because as Homan's coming in, it's not necessarily that he's softer on immigration. Some of the things you mentioned, he's been very for family separations. He's been for deportations of non-criminals. He's also been for supporting certain zero-tolerance policies and going after people in the workplace. So it's not necessarily that Homan has this record on immigration that is softer by any means. But I will note, and I think this is potentially some of the reason we're seeing him come in during this kind of PR crisis sort of a moment. During the initial fallout of the tragic killing of Renee Good, Homan was really the only senior White House official that at least at one point in time said, let's let the investigation play out. He wasn't quick to jump as we saw Stephen Miller do, as we saw Kristi Noem do. He had a bit more of an initial nuanced response to it. I think in this crisis kind of PR moment that the White House seems that they're having, for the president appointing Homan to go there, the idea is that he would at least publicly...
Liberals are frustratingly naive toward the right and draconian against the left, gatekeepers. No, they just know they have a strategy. The strategy is, how do you get people who oppose right-wing policy to enact right-wing policy? That is the service. That's what the Democratic Party is there for. The Democratic Party is there to square the circle of that question. And the answer to that is you tell them that they're weak and they're doing harm reduction by capitulating. That is how the Democratic Party, operates, and that's what it exists to do. It's there to exist to convince the majority that they're the minority. It is there to convince the strong, the working class, that it's actually weak. That's what the Democratic Party is for. That's why they're constantly talking about how we need to move to the right. Why do they think they need to move to the right? Because they're saying there's a majority of people to the right of the Democratic Party. That's what they're trying to teach you. Because if you're correct and you're powerful, then why would you go to the right? You would enact the policies that are the good policies that help the majority of humanity. You would do what you need to do, and you wouldn't apologize for it. You wouldn't be quiet about it. You would do it. You would do it strong, and you would do it fast, because you have the majority and you're helping the majority. Well, in order for this whole charade to make sense, the left needs to be the problem. The left needs to be uncompromising. The left needs to be unreasonable, and it needs to be the right-leaning person that is the one that is persuadable, that is reasonable, that is rational. And I don't know what to tell you, but if you still believe that there is a large group of people in the Republican Party that are begging to vote Democrat, you're fucking delusional and you're stupid. Good thing is, 10 years ago or 7 years when I started my stream, a lot more people bought that bullshit. But during the second Trump administration and the defeat of Kamala Harris and her strategy of running with fucking every right winger and spitting on the left failed completely, people in the Democratic Party, regular Democratic voters, are finally fed up. And if we're able to get a candidate like Zoran in 2028, this country is going to realign around the Green New Deal. There's going to be a realignment toward the left, and we will be in power for 25 years. If you could see how popular Zoran's popularity is skyrocketing. Zoran got elected and his popularity is skyrocketing. That's exactly what happened with FDR. And when people realize they can demand more, that they're in power, and that society gets better the more they demand, it's going to create a feedback loop. The problem will be, how do we hand off this knowledge to the next generation, the generation of our children and grandchildren? That's why the New Deal coalition failed, because baby boomers were born into a world that the GI generation created, and they squandered it all with personal greed. So in order for us to do better, we're going to have to educate our children and grandchildren into a better way of thinking.
Facing be softer in comparison to what we've seen from Bovino and some of the others over the past few days.
All right, chat. I'm actually going to call it there. That was a good end of stream rant. I appreciate all of you. I forgot to shill today, but it is what it is. Who cares? Here's all my links. I actually am going to work on a project, so I wanted to go get started a little bit early. So I appreciate all of you. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I'm sending you over to VO. Stay safe out there. Solidarity forever, my friends. Say hi to VO for me. Socialism will win. Oh, one more thing. Make sure you're going and watching all my YouTube videos. Even if you watch the stream, it can be very, very, very helpful. Like, I just made a video about me reacting to Moist Critical. So it's very helpful if you go and check out the videos as they drop. I personally, the best way to do it is go on your YouTube and click out of your either your subscriptions feed, or even better, from one of the recommendation windows that pop up. So thank you all for all your support, because we're starting to grow on YouTube, chat. Just picked up another 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. So if we can push ourselves up at YouTube, it really improves my visibility, because for some reason, people really care about YouTube subscribers. So because of that, I have decided that we need to put extra effort this year into the YouTube. So we're going to keep publishing content there. Thank you so much. I'll see you all tomorrow. Free Palestine. All right, everybody. Peace.